graphics. Find brands like 511, Proper, Game, Rothko, Redcap, Cherokee, and others. Selling blank apparel is easy. Becoming a one-stop shop to handle all your needs is what A&P Master Images does to make it easy for you, our customer. Visit masteryourimage.com or stop into our showroom at 205 Water Street behind the Utica Odd.
Uncertainty, the unknown. These can be some of the greatest fears people face. There is a chance for a life of greater certainty that the Rome Rescue Mission provides. We call it a hand up, not a handout. The Rome Rescue Mission provides the basic necessities and the skills needed to start a new life. It starts simply with someone to talk to. Knowing that someone cares, the Rome Rescue Mission strives to meet basic needs, food, shelter, and clothing, but more importantly, provides emotional and spiritual support. The Rome Rescue Mission helps people start a new and promising life. Being in need is not a choice. Helping is. An unlimited future starts at the Rome Rescue Mission through your generous support. Make a difference and donate now. RomeMission.org. That's RomeMission.org. Rome Rescue Mission. A hand up, not a handout.
Warner Sales and Service. Building relationships, building trust.
This is Lynn from Warner Sales and Service. If you are push mowing your yard, using an inefficient lawn tractor, or your current zero-turn spends more time in the shop than mowing your grass, it's time you look at a Hustler zero-turn lawnmower. Residential mowers from Hustler are built like tanks and drive like sports cars. All Hustler mowers have fabricated welded steel decks. Don't settle on cheap units with flimsy stamped decks from big box stores. Come see us at Warner Sales and Service on the Greenway New London Road in Rome, just off Route 365 between Rome and Verona, and we'll guide you to the right mower for your property and your budget. Find us at warnerss.com.
Warner's, where quality still counts. At Warner's.
It's time to start the program. It's time to earn our pay. It's time to meet the people on the Keeler Show today.
It's time to read the news and weather. Time to figure out what to say. It's time to turn the channel of the Keeler Show today. Why do we always listen? Keeler's always in the know. It makes me want to call him and tell him where to go.
And now let's get things started. Andrew, let's get things started.
It's time to get things started.
On the most sensational, inspirational, celebrational, Keelerational. This is what we call the Keeler Show.
WIBX 950 and 106.9 FM. This is Keeler.
Well, good morning, good morning. Man, do we have a ton to get into here today. A lot of stuff. Let's start, though, with, if we could, with Bill Warden. And do you remember, I mean, when you watched, you probably were, you have to remember Warden on TV.
There's no question. As a matter of fact, I wanted to say this to Bill when I met him in studio here, and it just seemed awkward to me, so I didn't end up saying it. But for the longest time, when I worked in the newsroom writing news, I would sit there at my computer writing news, and as you write news, you try to make it conversational and flow off your tongue, and the voice in my head reading the news was Bill Warden's news as I wrote it.
That's awesome. I don't you wish you would have said that?
I wish I would have said that to him.
So, we had, at some point, you know, I always knew Bill Warden over the years just because I was working in this business, and so was he. And but over the course of the last couple of years, we've had him on the air a couple of times, and some really in-depth I mean, I think we had him on the air for almost 90 minutes the first time.
Yeah.
And he talked about his career, but also broke down and cried over the loss of his wife. I feel that Bill, and this is just me and the interviews that we had with Bill Warden. I feel if there's ever a case of dying of a broken heart, that's what happened to Bill Warden.
He seemed really healthy when we talked to him, right? I mean, he seemed like he had a lot of life and vigor, and
so much missed his wife, who died in 2021 on Christmas Day. He just was, and here we had him on the air. It was July 1st, the first time of last year, and it had just happened, and he just broke down and could not stop crying. Over his wife. And then we had him back again, and he'd written another book. His second book was a book of poems that his wife wanted him to, always encouraged him to save. Don't get rid of those. You should write a book someday. And I believe he had the time to do it, and of course, the inspiration from his wife. So I just cannot help but think that the man died of a broken heart.
Yeah,
and you hear this stuff happening all the time. It happens all the time when two people are so close in their lives that they lose the will to go on when they're not with that person anymore.
And as sad as that is, you also have to recognize how beautiful that is.
I agree. I do agree with that, and it's just it's our take. It may not be. We learned about this yesterday. And decided that this is probably a story that KTV should break.
Yeah.
So after they broke the story, we put a story up and talked about it. But wow, very but 80 years old and had a really great career. Chose to have his career here, and I certainly respect that. And I'm glad that we had the time to be able to help him promote it. He felt comfortable enough to reach out to me. When he wanted to talk about his book. And we were happy as can be to have him in. The first time you were in studio. The second time, Joe Lode was in studio. And the only thing I can say, and I talked to Ryan Nobles about this yesterday. Ryan was on KTV last night talking about the passing. Of course, Ryan worked with Bill Warden. And I said to Ryan, I'm so glad that we treated him like a star. Because really, in this area, that's exactly what he was. And Joe Lode, it was funny to see Joe because I watched the video yesterday. It's actually posted in the story of the second time that he was on. You were out with COVID.
That's right. There was a time that I missed that. Yeah.
And it was the 22nd. Our Christmas show was the 23rd, so it was the day before the Christmas show. And Joe was like was loving every minute of Bill being in studio. In fact, he whispered to me, and it ended up getting on mic. He's like, I think it's too cold in here for Mr. Warden. So I thought that was kind of funny. Anyway, a sad day that Bill Warden has passed at the age of 80.
Yes, it is. It is very sad. I have to tell you, we just talked about this the other day with Don Leibel, where he talked about that broadcaster, and he was going to go spend the day with his daughter.
We talked to Don about this time yesterday.
Yeah, and somebody sent me a screenshot of what his grandson put up, and let me see if I can find it here.
Bill Warden's grandson.
Bill Warden's grandson.
Yeah.
And I just want to share that with you if I can, because I don't know. It really just struck me as you could hear the emotion. This was his grandson. He says, I love you, Papa. I'm so sorry this happened to you. You were an amazing grandpa. I'll always remember sitting with Nana all evening waiting for you to get home from the news so that I could hang out with you in your office and watch videos together till 2 a.m. You were such an awesome grandpa. I love you. Rest in peace. And that is just, I don't know. I read that and I was like, wow. That's just another beautiful, amazing relationship that he had in his life.
Yeah. We'll speak with Steve McMurray later on this morning on the passing of Bill Warden, and we'll do that about 7:40 or so. Yeah. Let's talk about the other big story here, and that is, well, I'll start with Colgate. It was like an exhibition game. I mean, Colgate rolled over Lafayette. They scored at will. I don't know if you watched the game, but it wasn't ever even close. It was probably closest at tip-off. After that, it was just. In fact, Lafayette started out a little strong. They actually took a 2-0 lead, and Colgate was a little cold coming out of the gate, if I recall. But then they just turned things around, and it was a whomping. It was just a destruction. They made Lafayette look like a high school team playing a college team. I mean, that's what it looked like.
Hats off to the Raiders.
And that crowd at the court was unbelievable.
It was a huge advantage, which they're no longer going to have. We were discussing last night on TV. They're like, well, Colgate will probably get a 15 seed. And then I felt like they deserve better than that.
They deserve a 13 or a 12.
Well, last year, it turns out they got a 14 seed last year. I think this team is better than last year's team. I mean, do they get a 12 or a 13?
I like to see them get a 13.
Yeah.
And the experts are the experts. They'll probably end up getting a 14 or a 15.
If they get a 13, that is the Colgate number, you realize.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, because it's embedded on the court, 13.
It was 13 local townspeople, whatever the story is. It's like 13 is Friday the 13th at Colgate University is like a huge day whenever it happens. It's a celebration. So, huge victory for Colgate. Congratulations to Coach Langle, and at some point we'll get him on. And
I've reached out to
I
my
know
contact.
So,
very nice.
Yeah, big victory, and we'll see what happens. What they will do on Sunday is they'll fill the arena. So the fans, the community, you can come in and you can wait to see what seed they get. They'll all be in the arena, and with the players and coaches and everything. It'll be like a home game.
That's cool.
Yeah, Rondinelli, Jim and I have gone down the last couple of years.
That would be something cool to be at.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
They hand out they have like snacks, and they hand out shirts, and it's just awesome. Then they have the TV on the big screen, and it's just awesome.
It's a cool experience. So check that out if you get an opportunity on Sunday. That's the selection show that will occur. Okay, now to Syracuse, and I feel like they, I always hate the stall, and in recent years, Boeheim has kind of gone away from that. You're up. Well, maybe it's because they just haven't been up in the second half, at the end of the second half. But the last 4 minutes, 5 minutes, they go into a stall, and it would always seem to bite them. Right? I felt this way with the last 30 seconds. So Syracuse, the game is now tied. It's tied. Wake Forest just tied the game. Syracuse has the possession. There's 38 seconds left on the clock. So with the shot clock, they're going to take it down. Well, there's going to be about 36 seconds left, I think is what it was. Because they'll take it down, and whatever it was, they'll take it down to about 6 seconds left. That's what Wake Forest had.
Yeah.
I believe, to bring it down. I was uncomfortable with that because you just know what's going to happen. You're going to give them that chance for that buzzer beater, and it's exactly what ended up happening. So 2 things occurred there. Actually, 3 things occurred. Did you see that shot that the kid made from in the paint where it looked like he had his back to the basket. It looked like he was going to pass it off, and he jumped up and did a complete 360 and put it in.
I did not.
To tie the game.
I did not see that.
That was unbelievable.
This was right in the final minute?
This is in the final minute of play.
Okay, so I'll tell you where I was.
That's incredible.
To grab a slice down the road here. And I walked in, ordered my pie, looked up at the screen, and saw that it was tied with 35 seconds
so
left.
now Syracuse has they're gonna take it down. At that point, I wish they would have just, and maybe in no coaching scenario they would do it. I don't know. I just wish they would have taken it down and scored, and then played defense instead of giving them those final seconds. I guess the odds are in your favor with final seconds, right? The odds are in your favor. They're not going to make that buzzer beater. Anyway, then they're throwing the ball around. They're setting up a shot, and they did not penetrate at all. And they give it to what's his name?
Gerard.
Joe Girard, the third. And Girard takes, which oftentimes that off-balance shot is his best shot.
Yeah, he didn't throw nothing. He threw up a brick.
It was bad. It was a bad shot.
They should have just left the game tied and went into overtime.
Wake Forest gets the rebound. They came down, and they executed perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And they score the buzzer beater. There's like 0.5 seconds left on the clock. Syracuse cannot. They get a shot off, but it's not a shot. Game over. Season over. And then the press conference came. And in the press conference, everybody was talking about the cryptic press conference that Boeheim gave. Did you see this?
After the game?
Yeah.
No.
So I'll play audio of it coming up in a second. And it's basically Boeheim saying, "Yeah, you missed I already gave my retirement speech." The question came, if I'm him, I'm so sick of the retirement questions.
Right.
So he probably is. You know he is. You know he wants to be snarky about it, but really can't be anymore. Apparently that's not allowed. So he said, "I already gave my retirement speech. I did it last weekend." And nobody picked up on it. No one picked up on it. Who did he said somebody picked up on it, except for somebody within the Syracuse organization. Anyway, and then they said, "So you are retiring?" He said, "I gave my retirement speech." Now it's getting weird. And the reporter pushed and said, "So you want to come back?" I didn't say that. It's up to the university. And then asked again, "So are you coming back next year?" Whatever. It's not a question for me. I'm not the person to ask. It's all up to the university. And it ended there. So the storyline immediately became, is Boeheim retiring? What are they going to do? And I immediately thought, and I'm texting with a whole group of people, immediately thinking, well, this he built the program. He's been there for almost 50 years. And they're going to give him, I think it's pretty clear what they're going to do. They're going to come out and say, Boeheim's he's going to retire after next season. Next season will be his last season. And that's not what came out. A very disrespectful press release was sent out, and it completely excluded Boeheim's contribution, I feel, to the program, the building of the program, the fact that his name is on the court.
You think that'll stay?
I do.
I think it should, but I'm just so appalled at the way this unfolded here.
I am too.
It's really shocking.
I know there are a lot of people that have been calling for Boeheim to get done for as long as I remember.
Sure. I mean, I even remember, Fred and Gene, right, would be doing the show. And
Boeheim's got to go.
He's got to go. His time's done. 40 years is too much, or 35 years, however many years at that time. And if you have that opinion, that's fine. But you treat him with a level of class and respect on his way out the door after what he's given to that university.
So you said in your story it doesn't make sense. And I'd love, we can take comments, but I'd love to have some phone calls on this. 315-736-0186. What do you think of this, of how this thing was handled? On the surface, it just looks like it was poorly handled by the university. But his answers were cryptic, I think, because the conversation, Boeheim must have known what was coming.
Right.
And he refused to be the one to announce it. It's like you have to think the university wanted him to say, "I'm going to retire." And so instead, he's like, "I already gave my speech." That cryptic conversation that he had with the reporter. And then to disrespectfully just throw out a release after they had such a heartbreaking loss, I'm shocked by it.
So, and I'll tell you
However, let me just, the part I'm going to add, the only thing I can think is there's more to this story, and there's more to the relationship between Boeheim and the university, and there might be something that has happened where they have just washed their hands of Jim Boeheim, and he's going out any way they see fit, and apparently it's not with a grand exit. Something must have happened. Otherwise, they have just been completely, for no reason, disrespectful to Jim Boeheim.
Well, I do think part of that is, what was it a few weeks ago? I'm trying to remember the language he used. Essentially, that I'll determine. Essentially, he said, "I'll determine when I'm going."
I determine when I'm going.
Yeah, and look, I don't know if the president or the chancellor didn't like that. I don't know if a group of teachers said, "Come on, are you kidding me? This guy's coaching kids playing basketball, and I'm preparing our students for the rest."
He got negative press all over the country, and definitely in Syracuse on that statement. Like this, he apparently runs the university. I mean, is that what happened? Is it that comment that he made? Because surely he came out afterwards and apologized.
Right, and he said they'll decide.
They make the decision.
Look, and I'll say this too. Every story that you saw yesterday afternoon said Boeheim retires, Boeheim retires, Boeheim retires. Go look at ESPN. Go look at other Central New York stations. I'll give you one here. This is from WNYT TV. Here's how they're wording it. SU basketball coach Jim Boeheim replaced by Adrian Autry. Syracuse story, ESPN story says Jim Boeheim. Give me a second here.
Most of them reported most of them reported Boeheim out.
Boeheim not returning.
Retired.
Not returning after 47 seasons. The initial report on this, and people in the building were calling me, "Oh my gosh, you got to see this! Jim Boeheim retired. Jim Boeheim retired." I said, "I don't think he retired." Look, this is. I wonder if it was that press conference and that comment that they said there was some backlash from professors or somebody who said, "No, we're your boss.
I wonder,
we're your boss. We'll decide when you're out."
Are we at such a point and so oversensitive on college campuses today that, if you ever watch the sidelines, if you watch Boeheim in the huddle when players come courtside, he's the eye rolling, the yelling at players. Are we to the point now where coaches are not allowed to do that at the college level, and they're bothered by the way players are being treated? Is that what this had to do with? And then how reporters are being treated? We reached that point, I wonder. And I wonder if this is some woke moment for Syracuse. I hate to use the word woke, but I wonder if it's that moment for Syracuse University where, we can't have someone that's going to be treating our players that way, or the fans that way, or reporters that way.
Or, I'll take it a step further. We got this old white guy up here feeling awfully entitled about what he can do.
I wonder, I wonder. I don't think in any scenario McNamara was going to get the job, and I do think, giving Autry the opportunity, I hope it is that the general feeling is, the thought is that Autry would be the better coach. I'm surprised they didn't do a national search. But, I think that colleges today are extremely nervous about making a wrong decision that doesn't fit into the world philosophy in the United States in 2023. So
it's just
I don't know.
Shocking. Again, 2 hours after that stunning defeat, and after almost 50 seasons, you get a press release with a couple of stats. I don't think this program would be what it was without Jay. Really?
Yeah.
Really? My mother, who'd never watched a Syracuse game in her life, could have come up with that quote.
Well, the court is named after him, right? That's...
I don't think this program would be what it was without Jim Boeheim.
Yeah. Let me break, and we'll come back and talk more about it, and take your calls if you want to pipe in. 315-736-0186. I'll play the part where Boeheim goes back and forth with the reporter. I have that audio. And here's the other thing that I think is something to keep track of on the Boeheim thing. Boeheim also said yesterday, I really like what they did with Coach K at Duke. He's been hired to stay on and do things for the university. And I hope I have that conversation with Syracuse. That conversation hasn't been had yet. That, to me, is very telling. Right, Davey?
And he also mentioned in that post-game press conference, it mentioned Mike Bray and Roy Williams at North Carolina still have a position.
So the whole thing is they're still contributing even though they're no longer head coach.
Right.
I hope I have that opportunity. Basically, he's saying that conversation hadn't been had. It hasn't been had as of yet. Boy, that's a shocker. I would have thought that would have all been worked out.
Imagine if he turns around and goes to another school.
Well, I think that the guy doesn't want to stop. I'll tell you that.
Right.
Yeah, and I think if this how they're handling him doesn't get better, I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
And Edwards,
and how cool would that
in
be?
the press conference, Edwards said, we came here to play for Coach Boeheim. So the question's going to be what's going to happen to, I think there was already a question of what happens to this team with the way things work in college basketball today. But I wonder now with Boeheim out, does everybody stick around or do they all take off? Interesting. We'll break. You have any comments? 315-736-0186. I know there are the Boeheim haters out there, but you're going to watch. I feel that over the course of the next 2 or 3 days, my prediction, right now it's been very anti-Boeheim in the last month or two. You're going to watch all of a sudden sympathy flow into Boeheim because of the way he was treated here. And public relations-wise, I think Boeheim comes out the winner on the other end of this thing. Interesting. We'll see. 645 at WIBX.
You have cancer. 3 words you wish you could unhear. But just because a cancer diagnosis may be a shock to your system doesn't mean cancer surgery has to be. Now, there's Edge Radio Surgery. It breaks down tumors in less than an hour per treatment. No knife, no hospital stay. Faster treatments, lower risk. Edge Radio Surgery. Now at AMP of New York. Learn more at ampofny.com/edge. You may experience side effects which may be severe. Ask your doctor if Edge Radio Surgery, Associated Medical Professionals of New York, is right for you.
Discover the difference that comes from a financial partner committed to building better tomorrows. I'm Jim McGuire with Baird Private Wealth Management in Utica. As a provider of trusted financial services in Utica, Baird is committed to making the future brighter for you and for our community. That's why we support local organizations like the Women's Fund of Herkimer and Oneida counties and the Capitol Theater in Rome, because we care about Utica. Discover the Baird difference. Visit BairdUtica.com.
I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter, that Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Tara, quote, "My doctor wanted me to do saline rinses for my allergies, but I've never been able to successfully use a neti pot. Navage uses suction power, so it's foolproof. There are nights when I'll have particularly bothersome allergies. I'll bust it out, and the results are immediate. It's such a relief. It's become a lifesaver." Unquote. She's one of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
Are you sick of being just a number or doing a mindless job? Become a craftsman in a trade. Become an IBEW electrician. The IBEW and the Electrician Training Alliance will give you all the tools necessary at their state-of-the-art training facility. Earn as you learn. Paid training while you get your certification. What are you waiting for? Become an IBEW Local 43 electrician. Call or go online today to learn more. Find your career at IBEW and let the Electrician Training Alliance light up your future.
I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter, that Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Haley, quote, Navage is the best thing I bought. I love it. My nose feels so clear now and I can breathe. I've been struggling with a stuffy nose for weeks. I bought Navage and it's amazing. Or this one. I use Navage every night, could not imagine life without it. I have 5 cats, and before I found Navage, I was a clogged mess. Now I breathe so much better, unquote. Those are 2 of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
WIBX 950 and 106.9 FM. This is Keeler.
6:49. Tomorrow morning we'll be live from Marlog, and comedian will be in our makeshift studio tomorrow as well. Pretty excited about that through Fat Cats Comedy Club. You can go to fatcatscomedyclub.com for details. I'll get you all the information on that and who's coming in tomorrow. I'm sorry. I don't have it in front of me, but I don't want to move my cursor on my computer because I have it all queued up.
Okay.
On Boeheim, and this is hard to get. I wasn't able to pull the audio until this morning.
Did he break down?
No.
Okay.
But this is where the question first came in. And if I can, let me just apologize. I've already gotten a few messages this morning. You're always talking about sports. Well, this is a big freaking deal.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We got to talk about this.
And you also touched on this. There might be a political undertone here.
I think so. I wonder if, I got to say, this... It has been, I mean, Boeheim says whatever he wants. Let's just say that.
Sure.
And I think the last time when he said, I can do whatever, I'll leave when I want to leave, I think that had became a real problem for the university.
Yeah.
And I think they feel like they had created a monster. I feel like he deserved. You had to forgive here. This guy created this program and made millions and millions of dollars for Syracuse University. They would not be able to pay the overpriced amount that they charge the overpriced amount for 4 years of college at that school without Jim Boeheim. And call it a football school. It has really not been a football school since Coach Mack left. So it's been a basketball school, and he was able to put into that dome more people than any college program in the history of college basketball.
Yeah,
and it deserves a little bit of respect. So, I here's Boeheim being asked the question after the loss to Wake Forest yesterday on the press conference.
Where people are going to naturally wonder about your plans. Have you thought about anything in terms of what you're going to do next year?
It's the university, as I've said from day one when I started working here, the university hired me, and it's their choice what they want to do. I always have the choice of retirement, but it's their decision as to whether I coach or not. Always has been. Again, I've been very lucky to be able to coach my college team, to play and then be an assistant coach and then a head coach and never having to leave Syracuse. It's a great university. The city has embraced our team. I am amazed that we've been able to draw the fans that we've been able to draw over the years. Steve told me before the game, we were just talking, he said it was amazing. The fans, last home game, nothing to play for, and there's almost 25,000 people there. And
yeah,
think about that.
It's just, I've been just so lucky to be able to coach at Syracuse, a place I love to live. People keep wondering about that, but maybe that's a flaw I have. But I've lived in Syracuse my whole life, and I'll live there hopefully a long time. into the future. I think it's a great place. I think sometimes the negativity of people comes to the forefront, and that's life. That's there. But I've been just unbelievably fortunate to be able to keep this job. I mean, Mike Bray's thrilled that he was at Notre Dame 23 years. He's a puppy. You know, I've had 47 years. I got to coach my sons. 2 years ago, we were in the Sweet 16. And
That's something
last year, I got...
People are forgetting about. He went to the Sweet 16 2 years ago with a team nobody ever thought would have gotten there.
Would have done obviously better, but that happens. And then in the fall of that year, we recruited 5 kids and ended up being 6. And I made the decision that based on telling them I would recruit them, I would coach them. I don't know if I wasn't going to come back or not prior to that. I hadn't really decided. But when we recruited those kids, and I knew Jesse and Benny and Joe were coming back, and those kids, I knew we'd have a chance to have a good team this year. And we were close. I'm happy with what we did. It's not that easy. There's some teams that were picked very high in the country and in the league that didn't fare so well. I think this team, it can do a little better, but we won at Notre Dame by 1, and we came back against Notre Dame at home to win by a couple, win by 1 at Louis. There was a lot of games we did close, and we learned. I think we closed this game on the offensive end. We made 3 really good plays at the end of this game to get there. We just couldn't get a stop at the end. But I wanted to come back and coach these guys, and that's what I was able to do. And
here's the part where he's going to talk about a deal with the university.
To work or do anything at the university, that's their choice. It was great to see Mike Krzyzewski's at Duke and Roy Williams is at North Carolina, and Mike Bray is going to work for Notre Dame. That's great. I haven't had any conversations about that. I hope that we will.
Wow. He's had no conversation about staying on and playing a role for the university. So you just cannot help but think there's more to this story than we know, right? There's got to be more to this story because it seems like he knew this was coming. And he was not given a choice by any means, and he was not given the opportunity to walk away with some sort of fanfare, which to me he deserves after nearly 50 years and building the program. You can love him or hate him. He did what he did. He accomplished what he accomplished. And, people say, well, there's only one national championship. Are you kidding me? Most schools don't have a national championship. So it'd be nice to have more, but most schools don't have that. Most schools don't have the memory of the games like those incredible games back in the 80s and 90s with
18
Georgetown.
Sweet 16s.
Right. Think about that. Tom in Utica. Hi, Tom.
Well, one of the places where you can run into some gigantic egos that are housed in some very small minds is in academia, and I'm talking about university management, and professorships, things dealing with tenure and everything else. And Boeheim probably ran into one of those small minds and big egos when he said about I'll retire when I'm ready.
Yeah.
Now that would send up a red flag, but it would that's a casual comment. That's kind of a flip off throwaway line.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have landed as hard as it did, except on somebody that already had a sore tail about something.
Tom, I completely agree with you. And you know what? It's not out of character for Boeheim, too, right?
Yeah, well, that was just a casual comment. And let's put this into another context. I don't know how many of you remember a fellow named Bear Bryant. at the University of Alabama. Can you imagine Alabama, running Bear Bryant out of town on a rail like that? No way.
Yeah.
It just that just wouldn't have happened. I mean, you can drop comments, and unless it's ripping off a scab with somebody else who's already predisposed to be a jerk and a high one.
Yeah, I agree, Tom. I completely agree with you. I appreciate it. Thank you. We'll take some more calls on this as well coming up. Up to the news break, let me quickly take Stefan. I know you're all over this, Stefan. Quickly, in 30 seconds.
He wants to know when we're going to lunch.
Yeah. All right. Okay, you're going to run out of time. I'll squeeze you in. You got to hold now. I'll squeeze you in at the after the sports. But wow, this is. We'll talk more about it. We'll talk more about Bill Warden. It's a big day. A lot of things to talk about. WIBX News is next.
From the Stanley Theater Studio, WIBX 950 Utica Rome, W295DI Utica Rome, your news, talk, and sports leader, a Town Square media station.
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. A drug suspect in Los Angeles dead after shooting 3 officers in a standoff last night.
We're grateful residents were not injured as part of this, and we're grateful the officers are going to be okay.
Assistant LA Police Chief Al Labrada says the 3 are still able in a hospital. A SWAT team moved in on the suspect. It's not clear if they killed him or he shot himself. Russia hit Ukraine with another barrage of missiles overnight across the country as people slept, targeting power and other infrastructure and residential buildings. At least 6 deaths reported as Russia closes in, taking another city.
No signs of retreat from Ukrainian forces in the city they've dubbed Fortress Bakhmut, even as Russia's Wagner group claims to have full control of nearly half the city. Earlier this week, Ukraine's president vowed not to retreat or surrender.
Fox's Steve Harrigan in Kyiv. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell's in a hospital after he tripped and fell at a Washington hotel dinner last night. We don't know how badly he's injured. Today, President Biden in Philadelphia will unveil his 2024 fiscal year budget plan that would include tax hikes on Americans earning over $400,000 a year, something House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says Republicans won't go for.
Raising taxes in a low-growth economy like this will only hurt us more and put us into recession.
Norfolk Southern's railroad CEO will testify today at a hearing probing last month's toxic train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. He plans to apologize and vow to clean up the site and give affected residents millions in financial aid. At a House COVID origins hearing, former CDC Director Robert Redfield testified he believes the virus leaked out of a Chinese lab and that Dr. Anthony Fauci tried to suppress that, and it may have happened in 2019.
We now know there was infections all the way back into September. This was a narrative that was decided that they were going to say this came from the wet market, and they were going to do everything they could to support it, to negate any discussion about the possibility that this came from a lab.
Dr. Fauci maintains it's still possible COVID occurred naturally. America's listening to Fox News.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, beat the largest timeshare company in federal court and has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-1441. That's 800-838-1441.
The Tunnel to Towers 9/11 Institute gives educators access to nonfiction 9/11 resources for K-12, first-person curriculum units with video accounts, the Discovering Heroes book series for kids, a speakers bureau with access to 9/11 first responders, survivors, and loved ones, a high-tech tractor-trailer that transforms into an interactive museum with 9/11 artifacts, Russell F. Siller Memorial Scholarships for exemplary high school students of program recipients who are preparing for college. Never forget, donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org.
We have mostly cloudy skies, 26 degrees. WIBX News Time is 7:03. This news update is brought to you by Country Suburban. Utica Police asking for help from the public in locating a missing teenager. The girl is 15-year-old Keeler. Police have not yet released information on the girl's height, weight, or eye color, but they have released a photo of her. You can find that on our website at WIBX950.com. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Utica Police Juvenile Aid Unit. Sad news yesterday as we learned of the passing of legendary TV news anchor who spent most of his career at WKTV, of course, that being Bill Warden. He retired from KTV in 2012 after 35 years at the station. He died earlier this week at the age of 80. Worden was a household name in the area, sitting at the WKTV news desk dating back to 1977. He was a musician with a career as a drummer before working as a radio DJ, then news anchor on television. Coming up later this hour, we'll speak with Steve McMurray from WKTV. Governor Kathy Hochul calling on New Yorkers to support relief efforts more than a month after that deadly earthquake affected Turkey and Syria. The New York-based Turkish Philanthropy Fund has raised $10 million for relief efforts and already dispersed $2 million. The governor is encouraging people to do their part by donating their time or resources to support the survivors. Another case of animal abuse, this one in the Capital Region. Officials say they have found and arrested the woman who abandoned a cat in a duffel bag. Investigators say 30-year-old Lisa Lindo left the animal without proper food, water, or shelter on Sherman Street back in January. Lindo was taken into custody yesterday by the department's Special Operations Unit, which handles cases of animal abuse. She's now facing charges and is expected to appear in court next week. We've talked some hoops this morning, Bill. The Siena men's basketball team will be in action tonight as they look to keep their dreams of reaching the NCAA tournament alive. The Saints are taking on the Niagara Purple Eagles in the MAC tournament in Atlantic City. These two squads played back on February 5th. Niagara won the game 56-54. Tip-off for this evening's contest is set for 9:30 p.m. Your WIBX Weather Center forecast comes to you from Eyewitness News Chief Meteorologist Craig Flint. We are looking at mostly cloudy skies today, a high of 32 degrees. Mostly cloudy tonight with a low of 18. Friday, mostly cloudy and a high of 35. Chance of snow on Friday night, an overnight low of 25. And we could see some more snow showers coming up on Saturday with a high of 37. Right now, Bill, cloudy and 25. Cloudy and 26. WIBX News Time is 7:06.
All right, so let's talk about, we're going to talk more about Boeheim. I have some audio where I think there is a hidden secret that I think we've discovered. Maybe, maybe not. I'll play it for you. You be the judge. But last night, Wake Forest ending the career of Jim Boeheim, I guess you could say. Ending the season for Syracuse with a buzzer beater, 77-74. What a finish to the game. Syracuse falls on the lower side, and the season for them is over. They will not go to the NCAA tournament. They will not go to the NIT. Colgate University, however, will. They placed all 5 starters in double figures, led by records 21 points on 9-10 shooting from the field. Richardson recorded the program's first triple-double, the first triple-double in the championship game since O'Donnell Foyle in February of 1997. What a game they had, 79-61. They were in command from the very beginning, and Colgate looked really, really good. We're trying to figure out, what kind of seed will they get on Sunday? Where will they be in the tournament? Last year they had a number 4. They were 14th seed. I think they're a better team this year. Wouldn't it be something if Syracuse or if Colgate got a 13 or 12 seed? That would be kind of cool.
13's the number out there.
13 would be the number, right? That'd be the number that you'd want to go with, I would think, for Colgate. Their special, amazing number 13. I have some audio to play of Boeheim that I think is telling, and I could be wrong. Let me allow Stefan to, he's been on for 15 minutes. Let me just let him say his piece. He's very, very passionate about this Boeheim move and the way Boeheim has been treated. Stefan, what is your take?
Well, hello, Bill.
Well, hello, Stefan.
Now, I watched the post-game press conference, and when asked if he was retiring, he said it was up to the university. So it was in the university's, the ball was in the university's court, and I'd love to be a fly on the wall in athletic directors John Wildhack's office when he he or the chancellor made this decision. How could they? They let a legend go, and I heard on one of the night sports shows, the Mets channel, someone said maybe someday they'll put up a statue of Boeheim outside the dome.
Yeah, that might be. I mean, he's got his signature there. What about a statue? Yeah. All right, Stefan. So you think they have treated him poorly?
Yes, and I don't know how good of a coach Autry can be, but he has really, really big shoes to fill here.
Yeah. All right, man. Thank you. Thanks for your input, Stefan.
You're welcome, Bill.
All right. Here's the part where Boeheim talked about the fact that he actually gave his retirement speech, and he did it previously.
I hope that we will, but I've just been lucky to be able to coach this long. I think you missed it. I gave my retirement speech on the court last Saturday, and I gave it in the press conference afterwards, and nobody except William Payne figured it out.
That's the chaplain.
So are you saying right now that you're going to retire?
This is up to the university.
You want to come back?
I didn't say that.
Okay, but so what are you saying? You're not saying you're retiring, but you're not saying...
I just said it. I don't know.
So you don't know? Okay.
I said this is up to the university.
And you're not sure whether you're... How will you make a determination about when you will come back?
You're talking to the wrong guy.
Okay. Thank you.
Two more questions, right in the aisle.
Talking to the wrong guy. It's up to the university. I think Boeheim knew this was happening, and it was going to happen soon, as soon as the season was over. And I think this was his way of putting it on the university, as opposed to he really put the ball in their court. Right?
As Stefan said.
Yeah. So now I want to go to a part that I think is somewhat telling. So the press conference is ending, and whoever was moderating the press conference said, "Okay, that's it. No more questions." And Boeheim said, "No. There's a person over here. I want to take one more question." And to me, it's the setup. This is making it firm. This is firmly placing it at the feet of the university and the chancellor of the university, and making it very clear that he was not necessarily retiring, that he was being fired. And I think this is the question. And Boeheim, when have you ever seen Boeheim say, "Oh, no. Please, this person has a question. I want them to be." Never. Now, Scott, stand by, because I'm going to go to you in a second. You tell me if I'm.
Take one more jab from Syracuse University.
You tell me if I'm. You tell me if I'm right. Here it is. Okay, for some reason, please don't tell me that I hit something wrong here. Okay, here we go.
11 rebounds and 5 steals, blocked a shot, and he can do that every night. Anything else for me? Thank you.
I think we're good. Thank you.
Well, no, I want to ask another.
Are you hearing what I'm hearing? Did you hear that? No, I wanna ask another question. This is Boeheim saying, I know the question. I know what he's going to ask, and I want to put an exclamation point on what I have said here.
So, Coach, would you like to come back next season? I don't have an answer for that. Coach, is that all? No, I'd like to take one more question. He can't tell you whether he wants to come back, but he just wants one more question.
One more question. One more question. Listen.
Thank you.
Well, no, I want to ask another.
He's open to a question. I got him. Okay.
Was that against the rules?
Oh, they're waiting, but go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. One more.
Jim, I apologize, but I'm just a little confused. Do you want to come back, or did you just announce your retirement without actually announcing your retirement?
No, I said it's up to the university. They have to make their decision, and it's up to them. I hope we can come to a good agreement, but I mean, that remains to be seen. All right? Is that clear? Clear as I can make it.
That was a planted question.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, that was a planted question for him to put that in bold font and underline, this is all up to the university. I want to make this very clear. I did not announce my retirement. This is up to the university. And the university responded shortly thereafter with a press release. Wow. The disrespect. Yeah. Scott in Kirkville. Hi, Scott. Good morning.
Hey guys, the interesting part is that press release was already written. It's supposed to be a little bit later in the week that thing was supposed to be able to address. Coach Boeheim basically called out the university and made them make it quicker. That thing was pre-planned. You don't write that press release in 20 minutes.
But I disagree, because if it was planned, it would have included Boeheim. It would have talked about how he is retiring. It would have been, they would have come to an agreement. I believe that, and yeah, they may very well have been planning, and they may have had it written. That's very true, but they didn't include him on it. And I think he probably knew it was coming.
Well,
that part, I think you're right.
Adrian Knox is going to be your coach. I mean,
right, they already knew.
You already had that in the plan. I mean,
you're right.
Personally, I think they're making a mistake. We saw a great game. I assume you guys watched the Colgate game, or at least they won. And that coach there, if he doesn't go, if Notre Dame doesn't scarf him up, then Notre Dame's an idiot, because that. I mean, what he's done at Colgate, and I really thought maybe he'd be up for the Syracuse job, because he understands today's basketball, what it takes to win, what you have to emphasize, and what he's done at Colgate's a miracle. And
I agree. I think there is no, I hate to be speaking in absolute, but I don't know how Langle is back at Colgate next year.
I totally agree, Bill.
Yeah.
I mean, he must. It's amazing that they had so much success. Normally, you don't have a coach at that level lasting that long if you're that successful, because a major team's going to pick it up. As far as Coach Boeheim goes, Manaski was told that it's 37 on the back nine holes won't be credited because the windmill wasn't working. I remember that. And that's probably the last time I've seen somebody that somber.
Yeah.
But he was acting weird in some of his press conferences. He's talking about painting the house Picasso, and this thing was pre-planned. I've been around for the whole 47 years of his coaching career, and it would be a great made-for-TV movie, because there was some craziness at the beginning, and then of course we win the 2003, and the timing. Think about it, Bill. You go from I don't know if you guys are up on all the stuff that happened over the weekend, the watch party with the whole team on a Friday, then of course the McNamara and Warwick retiring the jerseys, and everybody's hyped. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, and the funny part was the irony. I don't know if you remember when you made comments about Greensboro.
Yeah.
But he thought that's where it is. Now, one thing people don't remember, and maybe I can bring it up to your speed. Mark Coyle. Do you remember him as athletic director of Syracuse?
Okay,
he was only here for a cup of coffee. He actually fired Scott Schaefer, the head coach, hired Dino Babers. He came in to clean up the mess after the second violations, and basically he told Coach Boeheim, basically got 2 years. That's it. If you remember, Mike Hopkins was supposed to be the coach in waiting.
Right.
And so basically there was a plan already in place 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And then he left, and then Waller comes in, and all of a sudden that goes out the window. And that's why Hopkins went to Washington. So theoretically, if Mark Coyle was still athletic director, I think Coach Boeheim would have been about 5 years ago would have been his last year.
I do think there's what we learned that last question clearly Boeheim wanted asked, And basically the message is, I'm at battle with the university here. They are getting rid of me. They don't want to call it a firing, but they are getting rid of me. And that is what I think the message we've received, cryptic-like, but that's the message we received from Boeheim.
Well, the other thing was he kept bringing up Bishevsky and
Roy Williams.
But they actually working for the university. It's almost like he was applying to want to stay on, and the university kind of wants to really cut ties.
Wow.
It's incredible. It was a weird setup because the way how it ended. I mean,
I know.
Unfortunately, he's a great coach, no question about it. He kind of reminds me of Bobby Bowden, who was Mr. Florida State. He wanted to keep on coaching, and the university had to come to him and say, "Bobby, it's time," and that was kind of messy.
Yeah.
And there's a guy way back. I don't know if you remember a guy named Benny Crum and Coach Louisville. In the same scenario, you won multiple titles, and he wanted to keep on coaching, and
they didn't want
progress, and they had to go to him and say, Benny, it's time.
Okay, Scott, quickly, what seed does Colgate get? What do you think?
I'm glad you asked that question because I think they should be a 13 seed.
I'd love
that. My gut feeling is they're a 14, and so start looking at the lines that project the lines for the third and fourth seeds because there's a possibility that Gonzaga and Colgate might play, and if that's the case, that's going to be must-see TV.
Yeah.
And I've already talked to Davey. You guys are more than welcome to come up to the fan cave on Thursday to watch the basketball games at the Yellow Brick. But if Colgate's playing that day, and it's Gonzaga, man, that's going to be fun.
All right. Okay, Scott, thank you, man. Have a great day. I would love just the significance of the number 13 for Colgate. I would love to see that. Let me go to completely switch gears. Our man, Mighty John, the record guy, 10 records worth $100 or more, and I've got some. He has some doozies for you. Give me just quick 2 minutes. We'll come right back with Mighty John next on WIBX.
From screen printing and embroidery to promotional products and online shops, it's all under one new roof at Max's Print Shop in Marcy. Order anytime and any quantity in person or online at maxsprintshop.com. Since 1978, we pride ourselves on personally meeting every customer's need. We can take your project from design to production. And remember, Max's Print Shop will stitch anything. And we mean anything in the Utica-Rome area. Find us at 9555 River Road in Marcy or online at maxsprintshop.com.
Menthol is not just a flavor. It's a manipulative way for big tobacco to target, attract, and addict Black Americans. Tobacco companies aggressively market menthol products using elements of Black culture, putting more products on shelves in Black communities, and making them cheaper. And it's not just an injustice. It's killing us. Smoking-related illnesses are the #1 cause of death in the African American community. Help us fight this injustice at notjustmenthol.org.
Want to finish off Old Man Winter and get ready for spring? Now through March 10th at White's Farm Supply, you can get $50 off, $100 off, or $200 off Cub Cadets 1X, 2X, or 3X snowblowers, and we can even finance that right along with a brand new Cub Cadet lawnmower for spring. They're all in stock at White's Farm Supply.
We're the power in power equipment, White's Farm Supply.
WIBX 950 and 106.9 FM. This is Keeler.
All right, Wayne asked the question, have you ever been put in that situation, in that position from a radio station, and a renewal of your contract like Coach B?
Well, I just want to say that if it was up to me, I'd be here tomorrow. But, you know.
I would say, that's funny. I would say that normally in radio, we're never given the opportunity to have a press conference. But I would say there was one firing that I felt like I had the last word in my career. But legally, I can't talk about it. So there you go.
I love it.
The things we sign in our lives. Mighty John, the record guy. John, good morning.
Good morning, Bill. How How are you?
Wonderful. So here we are in the month of March. It's March Madness. The real madness is what you have stored up in your attic and you don't even know it. It could be worth so much money and you have no clue.
And get it out of that attic, that's for sure.
Yes.
Down to not in the basement, not in the attic. Room temperature, that's what you need to preserve them.
Yeah, I would
shape.
say the place, if you're storing your records in the attic, while it's not going to probably kill them in the wintertime, summertime when it's about 160 in that attic, that's not good for those albums, just for the record.
That's right. You will have soup bowls after that because they will melt.
Okay, let's go down 10 big money records to look for in the month of March.
Well, we got quite a mix for the month of March. The girl groups are always collectible. The Angels had a big hit with My Boyfriend's Back. The album currently up to $100. Everything by Elvis is worth money. This 45, Viva Las Vegas, with its picture sleeve up to $200. Ray Charles, Tell Me What I Say, one of the classics. You have it on a 78, up to $250. More girl groups, the Shangri-Las, The Leader of the Pack. That album currently up to $300. Motown, very collectible. Look for Marvin Gaye, his first album, The Soulful Moods of Marvin Gaye, currently up to $500. Stevie Ray Vaughan, before he was Stevie Ray Vaughan, he was Paul Ray and the Cobras. Their first 45, Texas Clover, with its picture sleeve, up to $600. Ricky Nelson had a lot of hits back in the day, but one of his lesser-known 45s is Where the Money Is, Fire Breathing Dragon, with its picture sleeve. Ricky, $750. Rush, their first 45, Not Fade Away, currently up to $1,000. The Beatles, everything by them is worth money. Magical Mystery Tour, the album, an original stereo copy up to $500, an original mono copy up to $1,000.
Wow.
And the big one for this month, the Rolling Stones, their very first 45 released in the States, never made the charts. Find a copy, Stoned, it's up to $12,000.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
Cow.
And that's
they
one.
sound stoned when you hear it. Actually, it's just Mick going stoned, all through the thing.
So it's that's on London Records, then, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Very. That's one that people might have. I mean, if you were the question is, did you hold on to it and all of that? No picture sleeve with that. Nothing to worry about there.
No picture sleeve.
Okay.
No, just the record. And the Beatles, again, a lot of people have Magical Mystery Tour. Just make sure you have an original and not a reissue.
Yeah, and the mono is key there. So why in mono? Why did that happen? I mean, I guess there were a select few coming out still in mono.
Yeah, by the beginning of the 60s, everything was in mono. To find a stereo copy would be rare. And by the end of the 60s, everything was being stereo, and to find a mono copy would be rare. But in the mid-'60s, they basically didn't know what to do, so they put them out both in stereo and mono, but far fewer of them in mono, and thus the value is higher.
So I wanted to ask you, and I had this conversation with my kids are now into vinyl, and I'm really happy to say my daughter's like she likes classic rock. While she certainly likes the current music, she and what's interesting is as these kids are discovering things like Billy Joel and hearing that music for the very first time, or the Beatles, hearing that for the very first time. Think about that how unbelievable that is that they get to experience that. Of course, I can't remember hearing that stuff for the first time. Sadly.
That's true.
Yeah, but the question that I had, so she had the song is called, one of her favorite songs is Vienna by Billy Joel. Familiar with Vienna by Billy Joel? I was not, and I'm a Billy Joel fan. And I guess I just didn't know that if I wasn't one to take a Billy Joel album and listen from start to finish. I would be more apt, especially being in radio, to deal with the hits. And Vienna was never a hit. Turns out it was the B-side. It was the B-side of, I think, Just the Way You Are.
Well, it might be on the album.
And on the album, too, I think.
No, have her check, because if it's a stereo album, it's worth up to about $20. But if it's in mono, it's up to $2,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even know they were still putting out mono at that time.
Well, they made a mistake, and copies got out, and they didn't realize it for a long time. So always check.
That is very cool. Now, my question for you was, although you are just a wealth of information, to know that off the top of your head, I love. But my question for you is, when 45s, we forget about it because music's not released that way anymore. You get an MP3, or you can buy the digital album today, or even on compact discs. But when they stopped doing the 45, what went away was the A and the B side. And sometimes radio stations would end up playing the B side. You saw that happen a lot with the Beatles, right? They'd play both the A and the B side. Both would end up becoming hits. But give me a little history on that. At some point, it seemed like the A and B side went away in radio. They started doing alternate versions of the song. Talk about what you can find on the promotional copy on A and B side.
Well, promotional copies, those magic words, not for sale, or promotional copy, can often make the record worth a heck of a lot more than the commercial copies sold in the stores. I would say it was probably around the beginning of the 90s they stopped putting out 45s, as I remember anyway. So if you have any of those promo copies, boy, I find so many at yard sales because so many radio stations either gave them away at contests or just foolishly threw them out, that they're out in the public. So look for those words, not for sale, a promotional copy. Can make a big deal. One that I found at a yard sale about a year ago was, it was an album. It was Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Deja Vu. A commercial copy of the album worth up to about $10, but the promo copy's up to $1,000.
Wow,
so it makes a big difference.
Makes a big difference. All right, great stuff. Mighty John, go to moneymusic.com. And John, as always, we appreciate your time.
And please check out my latest YouTube video. The link is right on the homepage at moneymusic.com.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thanks.
Mighty John, the record guy. Love him. And just you bring up anything, right? I bring up Billy Joel Vienna and bingo, he knows. And a mono copy of that record, they made a mistake. It's worth $2,000. Pretty cool. Got a break. Coming up, we'll do Habaika's free money question of the day. It's a chance for you to win $100. We will talk more as time goes on about that. I can't help but talk about the Boeheim thing. I just can't help but talk about it. But I do want to get into Bill Warden. And we'll speak with WKTV's Steve McMurray. Steve's been there at KTV for a long time. And certainly worked with Bill Warden. And we'll get his take on the passing of probably, Lyle Bosley was big, but Bill Warden was pretty huge too. A big deal for this market, and he has passed away at the age of 80. Steve McMurray coming up in a bit. Stand by. Jeff has news coming up next to WIBX.
Old Forge is so close, you really don't need a reason to launch, but we have a great one. Snowfest is back in Old Forge, Friday and Saturday, March 10th and 11th. We've waited for winter to come back. Now Snowfest will celebrate all that's new in snowmobiling from Arctic Cat, Polaris, and Ski-Doo. Come see all the new gear and stay for the fireworks Saturday night. Buy next year's trail permit at the preseason rate and ride the rest of this season for free. Check it out online at visitmyadirondacks.com.
We have mostly cloudy skies, 26 degrees, looking at a high today of 35. A closer look at your forecast coming up in just a few minutes with Eyewitness News Chief Meteorologist Craig Flint. All right, this news update is brought to you by Country Suburban. The bodies of two Americans who died after they were kidnapped in Mexico last week will be returned to the United States today. They were part of a group that crossed the border for a medical procedure last Friday. Investigators say they were caught in the crossfire between rival gangs before they were kidnapped. The biggest nuclear power plant in Europe is without power today after Russian missile strikes. Ukraine's nuclear energy agency says the last link between the Zaporizhzhia plant and the nation's power grid has been severed. The plant Russian forces took over last year is running on diesel generators that can supply power for 10 days. President Joe Biden will roll out his budget proposal during a stop in Philadelphia today. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said the spending plan would cut the deficit by nearly $3 trillion over 10 years. The plan is likely dead on arrival in Congress, where Republicans control the House. Norfolk Southern CEO Alan Shaw is set to brief the Senate Committee on Environment and Public Works this morning after the recent high-profile train derailments, including last month's toxic derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. A Norfolk Southern train carrying hazardous chemicals derailed in Ohio in February, forcing people in the small town to evacuate. Alec Baldwin is scheduled to appear virtually for a status hearing later today regarding the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of the film Rust. Baldwin is accused of firing a prop gun loaded with live rounds and killing Hutchins on the movie set in 2021. The actor is charged with involuntary manslaughter. And Tiger Woods' ex-girlfriend is suing him for $30 million. Erica Herman claims Woods kicked her out of their home and changed the locks after they broke up, despite an alleged oral agreement that she could live there for 5 years. More on this story, Bill. I'm reading that there's he sent her a message saying something about going away for a short vacation, and then when she left the property, they changed all the locks. Interesting. Your
I have a story about that. Personal story about that, but would rather not get into it now.
Did you also sign an agreement that you can't talk about it?
That one I just think I shouldn't talk about. No agreement signed.
Your forecast comes from Eyewitness News Chief Meteorologist Craig Flint.
I'm Eyewitness News Chief Meteorologist Craig Flint at the WIBX Weather Center today. Spotty leftover snow flurries turns partly sunny by afternoon, a high near 35. Tonight, partly to mostly cloudy sky, calm but chilly, a low near 20. And on Friday, most of the day should be quiet before light snow develops, especially south and west by evening, a high of 36. For more on your local forecast, tune to Eyewitness News at 6 on WUTR. I'm meteorologist Craig Flint on WIBX 950 and 106.9 FM.
Mostly cloudy and 26 currently. It is 7:35.
All right, I want to tell you about, Collis, Fred F. Collis and Sons, heating, cooling, and insulation. It's not often that we remember to mention insulation, but they've been doing insulation for many years. And, you put that together, it's the whole package. You may need a new furnace, but are you really going to save unless your house is properly insulated? They'll come in and assist you. They begin with a home energy assessment. I've had this done in our home, and we were able to do it during COVID when they couldn't come into our house. I believe it was the law, right?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to come in someone's home.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were able to dig deep into the construction of the house. They knew how the house was built. They were able to figure out what kind of insulation was used in the home. But beyond that, he was even able to say to me, I bet you have a hot tub because of the way the electric bill was working. I bet you have a pool because I see you're, in the summertime, air conditioning, etc. They were able to really dig in to really figure out ways that we could save. And for us, ultimately, we ended up having to get a new furnace. And that happened this year. But for us, it really was making sure all of the light bulbs in the house were the new modern light bulbs that don't draw the way the old incandescent lights did. And, wow, what a difference that made in our bill. It's really quite interesting. But Collis will help you. And if you need insulation, there are programs in New York State where they'll pay for a part of it, possibly even pay for the whole thing. The state wants you to be energy efficient, trust me. Reach out to Collis. They can walk you through the whole process. Fred F. Collis and Sons, heating, cooling, and don't forget insulation. Call them today. Coming up, Hobica's free money question of the day. Davey, we're looking this morning for caller number what?
We could say 1,000, blah, 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 and honor Boeheim, but no.
You could do that. Yeah.
Caller 5.
Caller 5. Caller 5. 315-736-0186. Fifth caller on the phone lines. We'll give you a chance at Hobica's money, plus a whole bunch of other stuff. Caller 5 right now at WIBX.
I can't take this kitchen any longer. Carl, we need to start looking for a new house.
Honey, you know the housing market is tight. It's going to be next to impossible to find something that we like.
I know, but this kitchen has to go.
Hey, what about a home equity loan from Adirondack Bank? We can turn the equity from our home into cash to renovate, just the way you want.
Renovate?
Adirondack Bank has competitive rates, and they've been a trusted community bank for decades.
A new kitchen. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah.
Then, of course, we would need new furniture, and we could repair the deck, even add a pool, and take that trip to Italy that we've always talked about.
Whoa, slow down, honey. Let's go talk to the experts at Adirondack Bank about that home equity loan. Then we can decide where to start.
I've always wanted to add on a craft room, and our bathroom needs a facelift.
Don't move. Improve. Stop into your local Adirondack Bank branch for more information on a home equity loan or visit AdirondackBank.com. Bank local with Adirondack Bank, your hometown community bank. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
Home and Hospital Medical Supply in the New Hartford Shopping Center proudly carries a wide selection of home medical equipment. Lift chairs to buy or rent, canes, crutches, walkers, powered scooters, braces, foot care products, and so much more. And if for some reason they don't carry the product you need, they'll custom order it at no extra charge. Mary and her experienced team are there to assist you Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, or call them 315-724-6767 and online at HNHMedicalNY.com. Home and Hospital Medical Supplies, we make life easier.
Uncertainty, the unknown. These can be some of the greatest fears people face. There is a chance for a life of greater certainty that the Rome Rescue Mission provides. We call it a hand up, not a handout. The Rome Rescue Mission provides the basic necessities and the skills needed to start a new life. It starts simply with someone to talk to. Knowing that someone cares. The Rome Rescue Mission strives to meet basic needs, food, shelter, and clothing, but more importantly, provides emotional and spiritual support. The Rome Rescue Mission helps people start a new and promising life. Being in need is not a choice. Helping is. An unlimited future starts at the Rome Rescue Mission through your generous support. Make a difference and donate now. RomeMission.org. That's RomeMission.org. Rome Rescue Mission. A hand up, not a handout.
Spring is on the way, and if you're looking to make the most of it in a new RV, camper, boat, or trailer, then look to Mohawk Valley FCU. Right now, you can get up to 120-month financing for as low as 5.74% APR for any new recreation vehicle. That's 120 months of financing for as low as 5.74% APR. Go to MohawkValleyFCU.org for more info and to apply today. Mohawk Valley FCU, member-focused, member-driven.
COVID is still spreading. Don't let your guard down. Anyone can get severely ill from COVID. But your risk is greater if you're over 65, if you're obese, have heart or lung disease, diabetes, or another underlying health condition. Lower your risk of serious illness, hospitalization, and death with the most up-to-date COVID vaccines, including the booster. Learn more at ny.gov/booster.
River Hills Properties remains the fastest growing real estate company in central New York. This is Bill Keeler. When my wife and I decided we were selling our home, we chose River Hills Properties for several reasons. One of them because the listing agent is there every time we show the house. That made all the difference in the world. The book, 30 to 100 pages filled with everything about the house, from the furnace, the warranties, everything was there. If you're looking to sell your home, contact Bill and Robin Monjo at River Hills Properties. Nobody sells homes like River Hills. Bonneville, Utica, and Little Falls.
I'm Scott Trout, attorney and CEO of the domestic litigation firm Cordell & Cordell. We help men deal with the life changes triggered by divorce, such as child custody and property division, among many others. But life changes also occur after divorce. These changes can make parts of your existing court order irrelevant. If you feel a modification to your court orders might be necessary, talk to us at Cordell & Cordell. We're a partner men can count on.
Online at CordellCordell.com, 518-554-0000, 100 Great Oaks Boulevard, Suite 110, Albany, New York, 12203.
WIBX 950 and 106.9 FM. This is Keeler.
Ready now. Let's take a shot at winning Hobica's free money question of the day. It's worth $100 in cash, plus a whole bunch of other stuff that we give away. You win when you lose around here. That's pretty cool, I think. Okay, let's start with Pat in New Hartford, who's ready to take a shot at Hobica's free money question of the day. Pat, are you ready?
I am, yeah.
All right, this is for you. You can only imagine what this question's going to be.
Yeah, I'm very nervous.
Yeah, here we go. Here it is. Since the program's inception in 1904, how many men's basketball coaches has Syracuse University had? Ready, go.
Including the new one, it's 8, I think.
You are absolutely correct. Nobody would get that. I love it. Including Autry. The answer is 8. Pat, you walk away with $100 in cash. Plus, we'll give you tickets to Fat Cats Comedy Club. Shows every Friday and Saturday. Go to fatcatscomedyclub.com. And also, we'll give you the Utica All-in-One Food and Fun card. It's a $25 gift card. Aquavino, Babe, 72 Tavern and Grill, Taylor and the Cook, and all their concession stands at the Adirondack Bank Center and Nexus. Quick question, Pat.
Yeah.
You knew that off the top of your head. How did you know that?
Because when they announced the other day, I kind of was looking into Autry's background.
Right.
And it was in the article that I was reading.
Good for you. That's great.
Yes,
8 coaches, and think about how long Boeheim has been there. It's just really.
I know, it's crazy.
It's incredible.
It made me kind of think of the Steelers, because the Steelers in the NFL, they haven't had many coaches either in their history, so it's kind of comparable to me. So.
Well, let's hope we don't end up with a new trend for Syracuse where we get a new coach every couple of years.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Fingers crossed.
Yep. All right. Congratulations, Pat. Stand by. Davey is going to hook you up.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Thanks so much. On our website, you can check out actually, Jeff has a very interesting story, really asking the question about Boeheim and how fishy this whole thing has been. And your conclusion is what? There's got to be more to this story.
There has to be more to this story. You send out a press release after the fact with no quote from that head coach. You do it hours after he's bounced from the ACC tournament and he won't head to the NCAA tournament. There's a million ways that they could have done this better. Now, I will say this. In fairness, the guy got to coach for 47 years. Not every year was a success. He had a lot of great successes, and he got a chance to coach his sons, which I really think he wanted to stay long enough to be able to do. So I'm not saying necessarily that, like, oh, we should all feel bad for Boeheim. I just don't think that this was the right way to handle it.
I think we should feel bad for him. I think it was handled horribly. However, flipping the coin on this just a little bit, you could say this is a real lesson in finding a way to know when to go, right? I mean, y'all. I always think about, what point I'm sure they'll take me dragging out of here with a box of all of my belongings, and I try not to have too much stuff, but this studio's filled with a lot of my stuff, so I'm screwed. I'm going to have a couple of boxes. But, isn't there a moment where, hey, I think this, after he coached his kids, probably would have been a good time to say, I can leave here and I can leave in a really positive way. But when you overstay, it almost never ends well.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
And this has not ended well. And I'm not sure that we would have gotten to a point where, you want to end on a winning way in a winning fashion. He's not been able to do that in the last couple of years.
Also, again, the arrogance, and it was arrogance that he displayed a few weeks ago saying, look, I'll decide when I'm staying and when I'm going. And certainly that I think part of that played into this as well.
Mike Burgess is with Oneida PD and on the line right now. If you go to our website, also, you'll find this week's Mohawk Valley Crime Stoppers Wanted Person of the Week. And this is somebody being sought after by Madison County and Oneida City. Mike, good morning. Thanks for coming on.
Morning, Bill. How are you?
Good. All right, what do we have? Who are you looking for?
We are looking for an individual by the name of Robert Howlett. Robert has two warrants. One's out of the Madison County Superior Court. The Madison County Probation filed a violation on the conditions of an interim probation, and he failed to appear. And that was in regards to a strangulation second plea, and that is a Class D felony. So it's stemming from an incident that occurred in May of last year. He's also got a bench warrant out of the Oneida City Court for failure to appear on a criminal contempt charge, and that is stemming from an incident that occurred this past November. So he clearly does not like to go to court when he's supposed to go to court, and so now he's got a couple warrants. The last we knew, he was staying in Munnsville, but we're pretty sure he's got some contacts out in the Rome area as well. So we are looking for 21-year-old Robert James Howlett.
And the goal here is that people take a look at this on the website. Somebody out there knows this young man and can assist. You can make an anonymous tip. That's the beauty of this, Mike, is you can use Crime Stoppers to make a tip that is 100% anonymous.
Absolutely, 100% anonymous. And if your information leads to the apprehension of this individual, you could be getting a nice cash reward for that.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike Burgess, Oneida City Police. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, you too.
Sergeant Mike Burgess. Okay, I want to switch gears here just a little bit and take you to this goes back to 2012, I believe, is when Bill Warden of WKTV, after years of service on the television station, and as their main anchor, announced that it was time for him to move on. And I think when he made this announcement, he said he was not retiring. He had much to do, and he certainly did. And it involved music.
You're not going to tell me they forced him out up there, did they?
It involved. See, if you want to see how to treat a retirement
after an outstanding, legendary career,
KTV and Steve McMurray and those people handled the retirement of Bill Warden very well.
Yeah, with class.
With class and with fanfare. It'd be nice if that would spill over to Syracuse University. It hasn't. But here's a little audio as Bill Warden made his announcement back in 2012.
Welcome back, everybody. Some of you are perhaps surprised to see me at this point, and others are not. Well, the time has arrived for me to make an important announcement that was certain to come. After much consideration and discussions with my family and my friends, I have decided I will be leaving WKTV and pursue other interests. Retiring? Shuffling around in slippers? I don't think so. I've actually joined a band, but more about that in a minute. In my 35 years here at this station, you have been gracious enough to invite me into your homes and allowed me to become part of your families. Television has that unique ability to bring us all together in a way that no other medium can do. When I walk the malls and local stores, I'm amazed at how many of you come up and say that you grew up with me. Some of you have moved away for many years and moved back only to find me still here. How curious the paths our lives take.
Bill Warden, back in 2012, making the announcement that he was retiring. And I got to say, we're going to bring Steve McMurray on, but the fact that they allowed Bill to, we don't get this in radio, right? In radio, you retire, you're fired. They give you a box, they take you out. They are afraid you're going to say something on the air that is, it's going to be bad or hurt their business. I don't know. They just never give you that final say, that final word. But that's radio. In television, Bill Warden was given, and this shows you the contrast between how KTV handled this and how Syracuse University handled Boeheim. This announcement that he made was almost 5 minutes long, right? Normal announcements you see on television, they might give him 20, 30 seconds to make an announcement. KTV gave Bill Warden 5 minutes. I think that was very respectful. Of course, Bill yesterday passed away, the day before, passed away at the age of 80. The announcement was made yesterday. Steve McMurray runs WKTV and is on the line right now. Steve, good morning.
Good morning, fellas. How are you?
Good. It is a sad day, the loss of Bill Warden.
Yeah, it totally. I was telling the story a few times. We knew he was ill. He had been in the hospital the last couple weeks. And we thought he was actually doing a little better. So when we got the call yesterday from his family, it certainly took all of us aback. Just that, because you couldn't imagine, even though he's been out of the station for now, more than 10 years, he's always been a huge part of the station. You can't imagine the station without him. So his picture is the first thing you see when you walk in the door. Because for so many years, Bill was WKT. You can't overstate that. You really can't. It's just, he was he was a larger than life figure, and he was everything you would think he would be, and then some. And most of all, he was just a great guy.
Yeah.
You know, the journalism aside, coworker aside, he was just a good guy, and you know, there are fewer of those types left, and I think that's where it just really hit everybody. But it also, you know, Jolene's piece yesterday at 5 and 6, you didn't get a chance to see it, it was perfect. I mean, she, as always, hit it out of the park with just you know what his legacy will be and how he was embraced here, and it was just you know, there was a lot to Bill that folks who watched him for 35 years didn't know, and it was just it was sad, but we had a lot of laughs in the newsroom too with some of the memories from the folks who worked with him for so long.
I have to say, we back in July of last year, July 1st last year, he came on the air to talk about his book, a Kansas love story, and he broke down and cried about the loss of his wife, who had just died maybe 6 months prior to that on Christmas Day of all things. And I said earlier this morning, and I'd like your take. I almost feel as if Bill Warden died of a broken heart. He missed his wife so much. Your thoughts?
Know, you hit the nail right on the head, Bill. You know, a few people who I had to pass the news on to that he had passed. That's exactly what they said. You know, and we could tell. You know, he had come up to the station a few times in the time since Jana had passed, and you know, he was still Bill, but there was something missing, right? And he and Jana were just such they were a team. I mean, they were the epitome of a team, and but yet at the same time, they were one unit. And so when she passed, there certainly was a large part of him missing. That's why I wrote the book. I mean, the book, he had said, you know, was therapeutic to him, but I also think at the same time it accelerated how much he missed her, right? And I think, you know, and that's in the memo I sent out to the staff yesterday. I said if there's any consolation in this, is that they are at least together again, because they were together for so long, and now they are again. But it's tough, you know, and I feel for the Worden family, especially, is, you know, now in just over a year and change, they've lost both the parents, right? And I think sometimes that gets lost in everything too, because Bill was such a larger than life figure. But, you know, knowing Bill, you know, we did on the 5 yesterday when we were all talking about him, one of the things I mentioned was, you know, Bill would always say, "I'm not the news. I report the news." And he probably would have been a little embarrassed that we were, you know, as much attention as we were paying to him, but it was certainly well deserved. And you know, again, I had mentioned he came back here in 1977, and he took the 6 and 11 job for 35 years. Never worked another shift. Never just said, "I want to be the news director. I want to be," you know. He just, that was his job, and that we have the 6 o'clock and he loved it. Those were his shows. And you'll never see that again. You know this business. It changes now, changed by the minute. You'll never see that again. And you'd be hard pressed anywhere in the country to find that happening again.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that you know, for this market, Bill Warden was the last of really was the only. When you think about television news, and radio as well, you know, we're in our infancy, and when you go back into the 1970s, they were making the rules. They were really creating the path of what TV news would look like. And Bill was a part of that, and that's the end of that era. That's the end of that bigger than life news anchor that dates back to, you know, the 60s and 70s. I'm not sure we knew what we had, and that's really the way it always is, right? We don't know what we have until it's gone.
Until it's gone.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when somebody like Bill and that presence, you know. He mentioned it in his retirement announcement that, you know, you've allowed me to come into your homes, and I think that's what I think is missing in the business today, is that and you and I have talked about this. What we get to do is a privilege. Folks are welcoming us into their home, and I think that gets lost on perhaps some of the younger folks who are just starting out. That you deserve me. It's not the other way around. Like the viewers and the listeners are the ultimate boss, and I think with Bill, everybody took an ownership of him because he had been in everybody's living room, and back in the day when he started and people had, everybody had dinner at the same time, et cetera. He was a member of the family. Like it wasn't, and it was so funny. He would say, all these people are so nice and they recognize it. Well, because they see you every night.
That's right.
They
That's
see
exactly
you more
right.
than their family.
Yeah.
So,
and he even mentioned that in his retirement, he mentioned that because I'd always heard the story about how when he was feeling down, he'd just go to the mall and it would make him feel better because everybody would come up to him and say, "Oh my God, I love you," So, but that's a true story, and it's so true that he references it in his retirement. But that was Bill Warden. That was his job. He got to live that world. He was the Dick Clark. He was the Tom Brokaw of Utica, New York, and he got to live that, and that's pretty cool.
One quick story too. When he did retire, and that whole show, by the way, back in 2012, was put together by Kristen Copeland and her husband Chris, and Andrew Donovan is now Channel 9 in Syracuse, and Andrew was a true protege of Bill. Just to give you an inkling, so Brian Williams, before he got into some hot water at NBC, he sent Bill a taped message. I don't know if you remember that, and it was the same thing. He's like, we have such a massive responsibility, but then you see somebody like Bill that it all starts local, right? And if the folks local viewers can trust who's giving them the news, then that can spill over nationally. And I think so. The fact that a guy from Utica, New York, can be recognized at the top of the game, I think speaks volumes.
No doubt, Steve. We appreciate you coming on and speaking about Bill Warden this morning. Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity. I'll talk to you soon, fellas.
Have a great day. Thanks, Steve McMurray from WKTV.
One of the things Steve said there was that Bill was good at so many things, and he was so much more than a TV anchor, and was just an all-around nice guy. And I just want to, again, go back to the message that his grandson, Sean, put on Facebook. You can really hear and feel the emotion if you read it, and it just, the part where he says, remember watching the news and waiting for you to come home, and then we'd watch videos and play in your office. You were such an awesome grandpa, and it just sounds like Bill Warden. People who really knew him knew he was awesome at a lot of things above and beyond giving the news. So.
And I can also say that we were so lucky to have him come in and talk about his book, and we were able to just do an extended interview. I think we had him on for 90 minutes the first time, and just he talked about everything. He held nothing back. And if you get a chance, A Kansas Love Story is the book that's available on Amazon. It talks all about his life and his life with his family and his wife and the ups and downs, which leads to where we are here today. So he is now reunited with his wife. Fox News coming up, then Jeff does an update on WIBX Utica Rome.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, beat the largest timeshare company in federal court and has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-1441. That's 800-838-1441.
On 9/11, our nation made a commitment to never forget. Since then, it's been the Tunnel to Towers Foundation honoring those words with action. So many people gave their lives while saving others on 9/11. Tunnel to Towers carries forward that legacy of courage and heroism by honoring our country's military and first responder heroes, people who are willing to die for you and me. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
There is a manhunt in Mexico for a drug kingpin, Jose La Quena Garcia, accused of orchestrating the attack on 4 Americans kidnapped Friday. 2 were killed. The other 2 have since been freed and returned to the U.S.
Mexico announced a $2.5 million bounty on Garcia, who is the leader of a Gulf cartel faction that has been operating in Matamoros since 2015.
Fox's Marianne Rafferty. Republicans in Congress want the U.S. to declare drug cartels foreign terrorist organizations. Congressman Mike Waltz tells Fox.
We need to go on offense and use every asset that we have to start dismantling and taking them down.
Now, that might be an issue discussed this morning at a House hearing into worldwide threats. The Director of National Intelligence will be there, along with the heads of the CIA and the FBI, the day after they also testified at the Senate. FBI Director Christopher Wray focused on cyber threats from countries like Russia, North Korea, and China.
We need to be working more and more closely with the business community to try to build resilience. I think there have been a lot of progress that's been made, but we need to make more.
Speaking of China, there was a House hearing into COVID origins.
Some Republicans, like Chairman Brad Wenstrup, accused Dr. Anthony Fauci of trying to discredit the theory that COVID originated in a lab in China.
Dr. Fauci said the lab leak theory was a shiny object that will go away in time.
Some Democrats, like Jamie Raskin, say there's still a lot of questions surrounding COVID that need to be investigated politics-free. He believes much of what he calls the failed pandemic response still falls on former President Trump.
No finding will ever exonerate or rehabilitate Donald Trump.
Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
On Wall Street, stock futures are down slightly ahead of today's trading. It's conference tournament time in college basketball pre-March Madness. 3 teams won their conference championships to get automatic bids to the NCAA tournament next week: Texas, Corpus Christi, Montana State, and Colgate. I'm Dave Anthony. This is Fox News.
Good morning. We have mostly cloudy skies and 25 degrees. WIBX news time is 8:05. Expecting cloudy skies today with a high reaching 35 degrees. We'll have a closer look at your forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Of course, we just spoke with Steve McMurray from WKTV on the passing of legendary local TV news anchor Bill Warden. Warden passed away earlier this week. He was 80 years old. He was a household name in the area, of course, sitting at the WKTV news desk dating back to 1977. In addition to his talent for delivering the news and time spent on the air, he was also a musician who had a career as a drummer long before working as a radio DJ, and then, of course, a news anchor here in central New York. You can read more about Bill Warden on our website at WIBX950.com. Utica police asking for help in locating a missing teenager. The 15-year-old girl is from the city of Utica. Her name is Keeler. Police have not released information as to her height, weight, or eye color, but they have released a photo of her. You can find that on our website at WIBX950.com. Police in Oneida are asking for the public's help finding this week's Mohawk Valley Crime Stoppers Most Wanted Person of the Week. Police are looking for 21-year-old Robert James Howlett of Munnsville on 2 warrants, one in Madison County and one from the city of Oneida. Officials say that Howlett is wanted in regard to a probation violation, and the warrant in the city of Oneida is for failure to appear in court. You can find a photo of him at WIBX950.com. Governor Kathy Hochul calling on New Yorkers to support relief efforts more than a month after that deadly earthquake in Turkey and Syria. The New York-based Turkish Philanthropy Fund has raised $10 million for relief efforts and already dispersed $2 million. The governor is encouraging people to do their part by donating their time or resources to help survivors. And a case of animal abuse in the Capital Region. Police making an arrest. They believe, found and arrested the woman responsible for abandoning a cat in a duffel bag. 30-year-old Lisa Lindo allegedly left the animal without proper food, water, or shelter at a location back in January. She was taken into custody yesterday by the Special Operations Unit, which handles cases of animal abuse. She now faces charges and is expected to appear in court next week. Your forecast coming from Eyewitness News Chief Meteorologist Craig Flint.
I'm Eyewitness News Chief Meteorologist Craig Flint at the WIBX Weather Center today. Spotty leftover snow flurries turns partly sunny by afternoon, a high near 35. Tonight, partly to mostly cloudy sky, calm but chilly, a low near 20. And on Friday, most of the day should be quiet before light snow develops, especially south and west by evening, a high of 36. For more on your local forecast, tune to Eyewitness News at 6 on WUTR. I'm meteorologist Craig Flint on WIBX 950 and 106.9 FM.
Mostly cloudy skies, 26 degrees. WIBX news time is 8:08.
All right. So, from the IBEW 43 Sports Desk, I'm just going to start with the big positive, and that is Colgate last night. Man, they made it look easy. They won their third consecutive Patriot League basketball championship with a 79-61 victory over Lafayette, and it wasn't even close. I mean, they made it look like an exhibition game. Like the A team was playing the B team.
Yeah.
They were scoring at will. Let's see what they get. They're going to fill their arena on Sunday with fans and students and everybody, and they'll watch the selection show to see what seed they get. That'll be a pretty cool experience.
Looking for 13, we hope?
I think the 13 would be unbelievable, wouldn't it?
It would be.
You know, the Colgate's number is the number 13. Everything at the university is based on the number 13. Wow. And then we could talk about Syracuse. The Orange, really, that was a great game. Came down to the buzzer. 3-point shot made by Wake Forest. They break the tie. Otherwise, we were heading to overtime in that game. And afterwards, Boeheim gave a cryptic press conference where he talked about he had given a retirement speech, but he wasn't necessarily retiring. And he made it clear at the end when he asked a reporter and really fought to get that reporter to be able to ask the question, almost as if it was planned. The reporter asked, let me get this straight. Are you retiring or are you not retiring? Can you clarify? And he said, it's all up to the university.
Yeah, you're asking the wrong guy.
You're asking the wrong guy. So, hold on. You're on, Mike.
I don't think he wanted to go.
I don't think he did either. I think he felt like in this team, I love this team. And while this team did not click this year, I feel like if this team could have stayed together for next year and you add a little recruit to the mix, because Williams would most likely, or Edwards was coming back, and Gerard was coming back, although he's struggled. And the other part that I think he wanted to come back.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering about the game last night, Gerard took the last shot. Davey, you said it was a terrible shot.
Yeah.
So the idea was, though, to get it to, so Boeheim talked about this. The idea was to get it to Edwards, and he was good. The play he would have gone inside and scored. It would have put Syracuse up by 2. But they couldn't get it to Edwards, so it went to Gerard. Gerard had a choice. Do I drive and make the basket, or do I take the shot off balance from here? And I think Gerard was getting stuffed all game long. And he clearly was outsized. And he chose to make the shot, and it wasn't good. Game ends, season ends, and now Boeheim's career ends. Yeah. We've talked a lot about it. We'll talk some more a little bit if you want. And that's all I have in sports right now. But Sunday we'll find out what seed Syracuse gets.
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry, Colgate gets. We know Syracuse is
Syracuse gets
Syracuse
the
is getting
seat.
the toilet bowl.
Syracuse is getting the seat.
The boot.
The seat. The boot.
Can I give you a couple comments here?
Yeah, I have a ton of comments.
This comes from John in Rome. This is regarding Boeheim. He says, more telling is when Boeheim asks the question, is that against the rules? Now, I didn't catch that, but during the press conference, he said, is that against the rules?
I completely agree. This was Boeheim being a bit of a rebel, and,
he said it seems that he was given rules by the school, and they told him to follow on how he could act at the press conference.
I think that's absolutely correct.
One more from John. He says, I worked at a CD store back in Sangertown Square part-time in the 90s, and Bill Warden was shopping in the store one day, and I was starstruck to see him. I felt like I wanted to go up and just ask him, could I help you, just so that I could hear his voice. I was so familiar from watching him on television.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's see. Here we go. I've got a ton more here. This is Ann. There wasn't time. It's okay. Coach B did what Tom Brady did. Should have gone out on top. Boeheim did a lot of charity work, too. He's getting no respect. This is very sad. And let's not forget Boeheim, their organization, he and his wife gave to Real Men Get Tested. They gave us money towards our campaign. And then Boeheim agreed to be in our commercial. I've always been a Boeheim defender, always been a Boeheim fan. I've always felt that, the people that have been calling for him to be, people have been calling for Boeheim to leave for 25 years. I mean, they've been criticizing the zone. They've been, he can't win the big game. And then after he did finally win the big game, he can't win the big game twice. I just think this is, whether you liked him or not, horribly disrespectful. I don't care what fighting and squabbling is going on between he and the university. This is not the way to. One would say, we're in a fight with Boeheim. How do we make the university look best? Isn't that their role? If you're the head of Syracuse University, isn't your job to try to make sure put Syracuse in a good light? They clearly have not done that. They clearly allowed their personal anger with Boeheim to get in the way. And I think they're going to pay for this. I think there's going to be a great public backlash on Syracuse University right now.
Well, what do you do if the person you're trying to get to leave will not leave and will not cooperate in any way, shape, or form?
How do you know that's the case?
No, I'm not saying
that
is.
Yeah.
But what would you do if the person said, no, I'm not going to announce I'm leaving. No, I don't want to leave. And if the only way for you to get rid of me is to kick me out. And
I think they had the opportunity to negotiate with him, and I think they should have given him the respect to say, hey, this group, I want to stick with this group and see this group out. They could have said, all right, here's how we're going to do it. This will be your last year, or next year will be your last year.
Well, it's possible that discussion
I understand,
did.
but the point is we don't know.
We don't know.
And I just don't think this is the way to handle it. And take Boeheim out of it. It's just not the way, in terms of public relations, for the university to look good.
No.
This puts a real bad light on Syracuse.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts. One, there is another side of the coin, and I will go back to him saying a few weeks ago, look, I've been here long enough. I'll decide when I leave. I think that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way at the university.
That's just him annoyed with a question and just kind of, I'll give you an answer that gets you talking.
And that may have been exactly what he was telling them. I'm not leaving here. If you're going to be I don't know if he did. I'm just saying, what do you do in that situation?
I mean, there's going to come a point where he's going to have to leave. He would have to leave, and I think we were close to that.
Yes.
But this was not the way to do it.
No.
They could have the Jim Boeheim Cemetery right next to the Jim Boeheim court if he stayed long enough, right?
Here's remember, Dick Clark still did the countdown.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He could barely count.
Oh my gosh.
In fact, sometimes he skipped a few numbers when he was counting down. But Dick Clark still was given the opportunity to do that, as bad as it was, and it was bad.
Yeah.
Dick Clark had that opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Pat in New Hartford. Hi, Pat.
Hey, just a quick thought, my 2 cents. All the talk about, how this was handled and how he's leaving and did the university do the right thing or did he handle it correctly? All that aside, and I'm a big Syracuse fan, just generally speaking, I think we've been spoiled, Syracuse fans, and kind of taken, this program a little bit for granted.
Yeah.
There are a lot of programs in this country that would love to have the history that this basketball program has. And so I kind of think that once he's gone, he's gone now.
Yeah.
That, people are going to look back and say, oh, you mentioned earlier, hopefully we're not doing a revolving door of coaches, but kind of coaches don't come along very often.
I agree. I
think once they're gone, you can kind of look back and go, oh man, we had it pretty good for a while.
I completely agree. And I just don't see Autry. And, maybe we're going to look back on this in 5 years and be like, wow, Autry was, what a great choice. But I just don't see him as being that, not that Boeheim is just bigger than life figure, but he is.
He became that, though, over time.
He did.
Autry could be amazing.
He might be. He might be.
Yeah.
But I'm just not sure that that's going to be the case.
He may turn out to be great. The the kid that I thought was going to take over the program a few years back, and it didn't pan out, was Hopkins.
Yeah.
And he ended up. I think he was kind of hanging on, hoping to step in, and when that didn't pan out, he took an offer out west and closer to home. But from everything that I kind of was able to kind of glean and read and understand, I mean, he was responsible in large part. Hopkins was, I think, for a lot of their recruiting. Successes.
Well, and it's interesting if you look at his team this year, they struggled. And you know what he plays? He plays the zone. A lot of people feel like today's college basketball, the zone just doesn't work. Although I have to say, Syracuse just got beat on that last play, and they got an open shot. Wake Forest got an open shot last night. But for the most part, I thought defensively they were really good yesterday.
Yeah,
Syracuse.
And, my son will say, he'll watch him, and I'm a big Syracuse guy and a Boeheim defender, and he'll go, no kids want to come to a program anymore that plays a zone. It's not prepping them for the NBA and so forth. But all that, like I say, all that kind of aside, I'm really, grateful that this guy stuck around for as long as he did.
Yeah.
Dedicated himself to the program and, gave us – I mean, you got a guy that wins 20 games a year. Everybody should shut up and just enjoy it.
No, not this year.
And, there aren't too many people in a city the size of Syracuse that could garner this. And I watched it. Boeheim, there he is walking down the corridor at Destiny USA. People are coming up to him and asking for autographs. It's Syracuse, right? That guy.
Exactly. So,
and 25,000 people there Saturday night.
I was just going to say that.
Think about that.
Let's see next year if Syracuse's final home game is a meaningless game. Let's see if they get 15,000, let alone 25,000. There is a way that if you feel like he was mistreated there is a way to get back at the university. And that's not buying those season tickets.
And I'll leave you with one more, Pat, one more thing. This is Mike who said, imagine if Weissman decides to no longer support Syracuse. Now, that's think about that.
I wondered about that myself. I don't know what kind of relationship. I assume he has a close relationship with
Boeheim,
the university
and with
Boeheim. So that's an interesting question. I don't know why I had it in my head. I thought maybe McNamara might have been the choice, but who knows?
Yeah.
Well, I think Boeheim had said, Smitty, you know something about this, that he had kind of wanted, or some people had wanted Jerry McNamara to take over the reins, but again, he hadn't been there that long. What are your thoughts on that? He just ate a cookie.
Okay. Davy's mouth is full.
It's interesting. I was talking to a guy that actually only lives a block from me here, and he used to write for the OD. I think he still does sometimes, John Pederesi.
Yeah, I like John.
And I happened to have a conversation with him a few years back. Just, he knows the ins and outs. He's been in that locker room forever.
Yep.
And, he had some really interesting insights into relationships that Boeheim had with his players over the years and which ones he kind of was really in tune with, some of his favorites. And, he went on and said McNamara was a guy that, it was a much closer relationship than just player-coach. And so.
Well, and the players talked about that. Edwards was talking about that last night during the press conference and saying that, listen, we all came here not to play for Syracuse. We all came here to play for Boeheim. That's why we're here. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with the transfer portal and what happens to this current team. It's going to be very interesting. Yeah.
Fingers crossed the program, continues to do well because, in a bleak, Central New York winter, that's kind of a thing you can look forward to.
Well, let's hope Colgate gets the number 13 seed. Wouldn't that be something? We'll see. Yeah. All right, Pat, thank you. Good comments.
All right,
thanks.
Thanks for taking the call, guys.
All right, thank you.
Right.
Let's see. This is Dean. It's unceremonious. No way should Boeheim exit this way, whether they're winning or losing. Syracuse is a disgrace. Now, this is interesting. It's like he should be the next AD or something like that. And he referenced Coach K and others as well. Or take over as president of the school because the current guy is a toxic liberal. And we kind of got into this just a little bit earlier, and I'm wondering if, Boeheim's demeanor, his grumpy snapping at people and snapping at reporters and tough on players. I wonder if that's no longer acceptable in a 2023 university setting.
Well, I think, I used the word in the 6 a.m. hour. There's like an entitlement. When he came out there and said, I've been here long enough, I'll decide when I leave. That might have been the final nail in his coffin.
Yeah. You're right.
You don't tell us. We'll tell you.
We'll
and
tell
you'll
you.
thank me for the time that you were allowed to be here.
And the fact that Boeheim in that press conference was saying, no one's talked to me about sticking around and playing some role at the university. And, the only place he's ever called home.
And the other thing being, after he made that comment, and we talked about it afterward, and we said he was kind of out of line. It was quite arrogant, I thought, for him to have that attitude.
But typical.
Right.
There's nobody surprised. Who could be surprised by that?
But he said even yesterday, and he said since he's made that comment, listen, as I've always said, it was the university's decision to bring me on here. It's always been the university's decision whether or not I coach here, and it'll be the university's decision whether or not I stay here. I think he may have taken a tongue lashing, or thought if he did not correct that and kind of back away from that statement that he would ultimately not have the opportunity to coach there anymore. And I do think that played a big role in it.
Richard says you're 100% correct. He deserves all to be honored. This should be a no-brainer. This is someone who might be complaining. Hey, is anyone... Okay, that's something different. I don't want to get into that. Okay, I do have to break, and we'll come back.
You got time for a Bill Warden story, or you want it on the other side?
Let's do that on the other side, because I do have to break. We're way over. In fact, I'm real. Ooh,
Bill, you've been here long enough. You can tell me when you want to take a break. That's what we'll do. You tell me. We won't tell you when to break. You tell us when you want to take a break.
When I say we take a break.
All right. I don't care if you are a sponsor.
That's right.
It's my show.
That's right. Kathy, you hold on too. I'm going to get to you. You're passionate about cheese. I have to say I got into some artisanal premium cheese last night, and it was from France, and it was delicious.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And the only bad taste I had in my mouth was that last shot that Syracuse took. Sorry, that's what I was eating.
That was a cheesy shot.
What I was snacking on last night while watching the game. Artisanal premium yesterday afternoon. Artisanal premium cheese sampled a large selection of cheeses from around the world. Imported from Italy, Spain, France, from everywhere. You add that with their delicious restaurant-quality breads and charcuterie, and you have a wonderful meal that fits right into the keto diet, by the way. Artisanal premium cheese. Easter dinner is coming. Put together a beautiful charcuterie board, and it'll just complement the whole thing you're putting together for Easter. Or if you're going to somebody's house, it's a great thing to take along maybe with a bottle of wine, or you could drop the wine. Don't even do the wine. Bring the cheese. Hemstratz, 900 Oswego Street in Utica, open 7 days a week, or online at artisanalcheese.com. Of course, Hemstratz has the most amazing half moons that are colored perfectly for the Easter holiday. So check it all out. 900 Oswego Street in Utica, open 7 days a week.
Hi, I'm Pete from Big Apple Music, and whether it's your home or business, you have a lot invested. In the past, a camera surveillance system was an expensive luxury. Big Apple has now made it affordable. Big Apple is the area's leader when it comes to camera surveillance systems, having installed hundreds locally in homes and businesses. Big Apple is New York State licensed for security and camera surveillance, with most of our products sourced from American companies. Featuring Starlight Night Vision, our cameras dollar for dollar have the best night vision available. A camera surveillance system can offer full property coverage. It prevents and reduces crime, monitors high-risk areas like parking lots and showrooms, and Big Apple has a fully set-up showroom to give you real-time, realistic demonstrations of just how great a camera system can be for you. Stop in and see for yourself at Big Apple Music in New Hartford.
Hi, Hey, Jan from Toyota speaking.
Jan, I heard it's a good time to buy a Toyota.
Sure is. From now until April 4th, you can shop all your favorites like Corolla, RAV4, Sequoia, and more. Imagine yourself in a new Tundra where
you stopped by the home improvement store and finally built that tree house you promised your daughter.
Sarah? When did you hop on the call?
Hi, Dad. Mom said you were taking too long on the phone.
Toyota, let's go places. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Dealer inventory may vary.
Adirondack Home Furniture now carries Smith Brothers Furniture. Smith Brothers has been creating customized living room furniture since 1925 and is known for its high-quality, solid-built, top-of-the-line pieces. Made in America with modern technology using age-old craftsmanship, Smith Brothers offers furniture that you can have confidence in for generations. Smith Brothers is a solid and dependable brand who provide innovative furniture design with every piece. Smith Brothers is a leader in the furniture industry with their award-winning line of upholstered furniture. They have built a reputation for their value and design leadership with furniture of the finest quality. We would love for you to come and browse our extensive inventory and see for yourself. Smith Brothers, now available at Adirondack Home Furniture. Stop in today. Adirondack Home Furniture in the Riverside Center, North Utica, or at AdirondackHomeFurniture.com. Create the home of your dreams with Smith Brothers and Adirondack Home Furniture. 315-738-7817.
The Dell Technologies semi-annual sale is on with limited quantity deals on top tech. Save on select PCs powered by the latest 12th gen Intel Core processors like thin and light XPS 13 laptops, Inspiron laptops, and 2-in-1s. Plus, get savings on select accessories, free shipping, and monthly payment options with Dell Preferred Account. Save today by calling 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
At AmeriQ Credit Union, we believe real connections matter, today more than ever. Whether it's connecting you to the right solutions to achieve your goals, new technology to make banking easier, or a real person to help you succeed, we'll be here. In person, online, or anywhere in between, creating meaningful connections that make you feel like you belong. AmeriQ and you. Let's connect. Membership restrictions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
Old Forge is so close, you really don't need a reason to launch, but we have a great one. Snowfest is back in Old Forge, Friday and Saturday, March 10th and 11th. We've waited for winter to come back. Now Snowfest will celebrate all that's new in snowmobiling from Arctic Cat, Polaris, and Ski-Doo. Come see all the new gear and stay for the fireworks Saturday night. Buy next year's trail permit at the preseason rate and ride the rest of this season for free. Check it out online at visitmyadirondacks.com.
Every day at NBT Bank, we focus our business around all the ways we can help yours. We're large enough to offer leading business and digital solutions, but local enough to ensure personalized one-on-one service. So turn to NBT Bank for a full range of business solutions, like capital and treasury management services, even fraud protection, and see how NBT Bank is just the right size to help you do big things. Visit nbtbank.com to learn more and start a conversation. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
The Falcon Clinic in Washington Mills. Sorry. The Falcon Clinic in Washington Mills is accepting new patients right now. The Falcon Clinic is the area's premier osteopathic medical clinic. Yesterday, Dr. Shemaleski and Dr. Zielinski were both in studio discussing sleep deprivation, sleep apnea, the inability to be able to fall asleep when you need to. And getting the proper amount of sleep, which causes fatigue, in some cases pain. They have treatments for you. And it might mean considering medical marijuana versus the sleeping pills that are very, very addictive. That could be an option for you. Reach out to the Falcon Clinic in Washington Mills. If you're in need of a new family doctor, they can help as well. If you need a new family physician, all under one roof at the Falcon Clinic, they have you covered. Have you been tested for hepatitis C? It's prevalent in baby boomers, 100% curable. Dr. Shemaleski is Hep C certified, 100% curable. Call today at 315-507-4751 or visit them online at falconclinic.com. The Falcon Clinic in Washington Mills.
WIBX 950 and 106.9 FM. This is Keeler.
A lot of people piping in this morning about Boeheim. Don this morning says the same thing happened to Tom Landry when he was coaching the Dallas Cowboys. When Jerry Jones took over the team, just unceremoniously, boom, you're done.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, my father used to be somewhat of a Cowboys fan, going way, way back, and it was so sour about the handling of Landry, flipped teams, and kind of
didn't know it was no longer a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, just kind of rooted for the Bills and the Giants, and that was how I became a Giants fan.
I do think
got
that,
stuck with Daniel Jones.
I do think that the handling of this. Let's see what happens in the next couple of days. But I know there were a lot of people hot on negatively on Boeheim. But we as a society don't like this. Don't like the way. Normally don't like the way. If you look at the way Boeheim's been treated, we don't like that sort of thing.
Right.
And I would not be surprised if the public sentiment began to side with Boeheim here, and it already seems to be doing that. Yeah. Kathy in Rome. Hi, Kathy. Good morning.
Good morning. I watched the game. I was sorry that it didn't go into overtime. I mean, I'm not a Syracuse fan, but it's always nice to be able to see them go to the tournament and see how far they can go. Coach Izzo always says he likes to play the best, and boy, I keep every year wanting Michigan State to play Colgate. I think it would be good competition. So maybe I'll get my dream come true, and Michigan State plays tomorrow afternoon, but they've had a rough going, so we'll see how far they can go.
I would have rather have seen Colgate have a barn burner yesterday. Come right down to the very end, and Colgate wins. This lack of competition does not prep them well for the tournament, right?
Well, we scored 112 against Iowa, and we lost, so it just depends.
Yep, it does.
But if you want a good game, try watching Michigan State tomorrow afternoon. It doesn't hurt to be a fan for a few minutes. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kathy. Doesn't hurt to be a fan for a few minutes. Just think for a moment, though, had Syracuse won that game last night, none of this would have happened. I mean, eventually it probably would have, right? Yeah. None of this would have happened, and Syracuse would be playing Miami today at 12 noon. Instead, Wake Forest playing Miami today at 12 noon. Let's see. Bill Morehouse, Adrian Autry over McNamara. Let me guess. Adrian Autry is a black guy. Do you expect a woke university to be put in a position where we kind of discussed this a little bit? It's a difficult topic to talk about, but I'm glad we're talking about it with Rick Lewis in studio.
Oh, yes.
Dun,
the,
dun,
voice
dun.
the voice of a nation here. Oh, my gosh.
So,
well, if they accuse of two white guys being in a room talking about this, we can say, well, Rick was with us.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on it?
Wow. I'm once again in the minority here.
Well, you know.
Wow. Well, you know, it's a tough thing when you start throwing these types of things in like racial.
You're right. It makes it very, very difficult.
Yeah, it does.
Now, here's the question though: had they named McNamara as the head coach, there would have been criticism saying you have two assistant coaches. One's black, one's white. You pick the white guy. Of course you do.
Yeah.
So that has to be in the minds of the university at this point. But what we would hope is that they selected the best candidate, right?
Right, exactly. And, it's very difficult to uncover because everybody has their own view of what's going on. Like right now, was the college being unfair disrespectful to Boeheim, or did Boeheim say in a meeting, there is no way you're getting me out of here unless you throw me out of here? We don't know that. Maybe he said, sure, just give me one. No, we're done with
that. That is how white guys act. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you pointed that out.
So
yeah, all those white guys.
That's an exclusive white guy thing to do. I'm just saying.
That is.
This is mine. No,
I'm kidding, of course. Right.
But as soon as you throw that in there, it clouds up all the other issues. When all of a sudden, did we pick the right guy or the wrong guy?
Yeah.
Did you pick the white guy or the not white guy?
Yeah.
Well, that's not. No. The choice here is, do we pick the right guy? And then, you just don't know.
You don't know,
You just don't know.
I'm to be honest with you, I don't see Autry as the head coach, but I don't see McNamara as the head coach either.
I was going to say
no.
I'm surprised they didn't do a nationwide search. I mean,
yeah,
but they
I didn't
stayed
see
from
McNamara
within.
as a head coach either myself.
Do you think if they did, Matt Lingle would be considered for it?
I think they totally should have considered him.
So now, if Autry goes in and he kicks butt and wins and does an incredible job, does anybody go back in history to talk about the debate of the question at the very outset? What, you hired the black guy?
Well,
You're
I
woke.
would hope that we just judge people based on their performance.
Right.
And you don't even see color, but unfortunately, it's not like.
Well,
that's
there's
a
two
fantasy.
colors. You can have the black, white, and green issue. The green issue is.
Yeah.
Am I making money? Yeah. Then I don't care about the black and white
I
issue.
see where you're. I didn't get that in the beginning.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right.
That's all that counts. If the guy
Yeah.
wins, even the naysayers will be like, "Yeah, well, that was a good choice." What you said, like politics, that's old news. We're talking about today. What's going on?
that is
Well,
a
I'm
political
so
tool.
glad you were in studio after I read that statement.
Yeah, me too.
And to be clear, I never saw McNamara really as a head coach, but again, I always picture him as the 20-year-old kid running around firing threes from the corner, right?
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about Gene Autry, and I'm certainly not saying he's not qualified.
Gene Autry, isn't he a
Oh,
cowboy?
my God.
I'm like, please, he's a white guy, ain't he?
Happy trails to you.
He was a black man dressed as a white man riding around on a cowboy.
Until we meet again.
Adrian Autry, excuse me.
Oh, my God.
And aside from who they hired as his replacement, I do think the main story was how he was handled.
I think he also did, Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen.
And basketball. He's
Yeah.
like football,
Sorry.
singing.
Yeah. Anyway, yes.
Yeah, so I didn't, to me, that was a secondary thing when I heard about this story and then read the press release. To be honest, I don't know a ton about Adrian Autry. I knew that he played for Boeheim many years ago. But to me, I think that's a side story. And then when people start talking about, the university is woke, they're looking to change things up there, I think that's where that comes into play. But whoever Boeheim's replacement was, even if they named Jerry McNamara the coach immediately after, I don't think they handled this correctly.
Well, let's say this: if the word woke, I think it's a very improperly used word today. That is just, it means so much to so many different people.
If you don't like something, it's
right,
woke.
it's woke.
It's
You're
woke.
right. So, but I would say this: if woke is woke, right? It's the way you're tiptoeing through the tulips. You don't want to, we don't upset anybody. You can't offend anybody. Then this is not a woke action by the university, right? They did it to an old white guy. All right. Well, I'm not sure that the woke mentality wants anyone treated poorly, right? And Boeheim is clearly being treated poorly in this situation.
I will go back to what I said before about his comments about I've been here long enough to basically determine how long I stay or when I call my shots in my retirement. And I just think that there could have been professors or university officials of all different backgrounds who said, this guy coaches basketball and we try to shape students' lives for the future of our world.
Yeah.
And you let him walk around with that attitude, yet we have to be on pins and needles that we might get fired for this reason or might get...
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
I mean...
and that's color aside, right? Or woke aside.
Sure.
I think I've heard from people who are conservative or Republican saying, what we do, everyone thinks what they do is the most important thing.
Right.
And let's be honest, and a university is the most important thing that goes on there, an athletic program. A lot of people would say no.
Well, it is. It's where they make all their money.
It's the
right?
green. Remember, the black,
green.
the white, the green.
Yes.
The green.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I don't mean St. Patrick's Day.
No, you're. It's really true, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with this team too. Now that I understand Autry is an assistant coach and plays a huge role in coaching these players, But do you get to keep everybody? Because they all came to play for Boeheim. It'll be interesting to see.
I'd also be interested to see when Adrian Autry has his press conference to see what the relationship was like between he and Boeheim. Because while the university, I don't think, really treated him well on his departure, Adrian Autry could take the mic and go on about Boeheim, what he learned from him, his time there. And I think that might help right the ship.
Will he stick with the zone?
I do think the zone is something of the past.
Yeah.
I really do.
I think it's probably.
With the Steph Curry era where
three-
guys are practicing
three-pointers,
threes at half court all the time, the zone can't cover the half court three.
It's just like in football with changing all the rules. It makes it easier to pass. So you have to change your defense.
I do love, though, that was it last year or the year before, everybody was criticizing Boeheim over the zone. And he's like, all right, screw it. We're going to play it was the second half of a game. They were losing by whatever. They go play man-to-man, and all of a sudden they fell even further behind. In the press conference, Boeheim said, yeah, okay, so we played man-to-man. Look what happened. We're going back to the zone. I mean, he was definitely committed to that defense. There's no doubt about it. So, all right, I'll break, and we'll come back, wrap it up. John Decker coming up in a second. Rick Lewis is you're promoting something, I'm sure, and we'll get to that.
You've always got something going on
We'll
over
get
there.
to that coming up in a second, too. Hold on. It's 8:44. We'll wrap up this very interesting Thursday morning coming up at WIBX.
I can't take this kitchen any longer. Carl, we need to start looking for a new house.
Honey, you know the housing market is tight. It's going to be next to impossible to find something that we like.
I know, but this kitchen has to go.
Hey, what about a home equity loan from Adirondack Bank? We can turn the equity from our home into cash to renovate, just the way you want.
Renovate?
Adirondack Bank has competitive rates, and they've been a trusted community bank for decades.
A new kitchen. Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah.
Then, of course, we would need new furniture, and we could repair the deck, even add a pool, and take that trip to Italy that we've always talked about.
Whoa, slow down, honey. Let's go talk to the experts at Adirondack Bank about that home equity loan. Then we can decide where to start.
I've always wanted to add on a craft room, and our bathroom needs a facelift.
Don't move. Improve. Stop into your local Adirondack Bank branch for more information on a home equity loan or visit AdirondackBank.com. Bank local with Adirondack Bank, your hometown community bank. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
You have cancer. 3 words you wish you could unhear. But just because a cancer diagnosis may be a shock to your system doesn't mean cancer surgery has to be. Now, there's Edge Radiosurgery. It breaks down tumors in less than an hour per treatment. No knife, no hospital stay. Faster treatments, lower risk. Edge Radiosurgery, now at AMP of New York. Learn more at ampofny.com/edge. You may experience side effects which may be severe. Ask your doctor of Edge Radiosurgery, Associated Medical Professionals of New York is correct for you.
It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity during tax season because so much sensitive info is all together.
Before we start the annual meeting of Sean's personal info, has anyone seen Social Security number?
Not me.
Nope. Nuh-uh. Oh no. He's been stolen.
LifeLock by Norton makes it easy to help protect yourself. If you become a victim, we'll work to fix it. No one can monitor all transactions, but you can save up to 25% off your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Identity theft protection starts here.
Book your New Jersey summer vacation. Get ready for sunshine vibes and waves of beach and boardwalk fun. Go for exciting destinations, entertaining nightlife, and endless outdoor adventures. Whether relaxing along 130 miles of Jersey Shore or climbing high in the Skylands. Create your New Jersey summer escape at visitnj.org/booknow.
Hey, Bill and Robin Monjo at River Hills Properties realize it's March, it's springtime. If you're possibly, thinking about selling your home, now would be the time to sit down and chat. And there's nothing wrong with, when selecting a real estate agency, doing a few interviews and talking to a few people and saying, hey, what are you going to do for me? How are you going to lower our stress level? How will you make this process easier for us? How will you protect us? All good questions, fair questions, and whatever else you have on your mind. They would love to sit down and chat with you about how they serve the customer from start to finish, the very beginning, when you think about selling that home, right till the closing. They're by your side, taking care of issues that if you go with someone else, chances are you're going to have to be doing yourself. but it's your choice. Sit down with Bill and Robin Monjo or any of the agents at River Hills Properties and realize your house never will be seen without your listing agent there. Your listing agent will always be there when people roam through your house and roam through quite judgmentally. That's what happens. You're judging the house to determine if you would like to buy it. So having a listing agent there on your behalf is a big plus. It was for my wife and I. We went with River Hills and sold our home in under a week. So if you're thinking about selling, River Hills Properties, serving all of upstate New York with offices in Barneyville, Little Falls, and Utica. Online, it's riverhillspropertiesllc.com. Call 315-896-1009.
WIBX 950 and 106.9 FM. This is Keeler.
So 8:48, and the comments keep rolling in here, but we have to at some point say, let's let Rick plug whatever he wants to plug. What do you want to plug there, Rick?
I don't know. I don't know because I have so many things to talk about, but I'm going to whittle it down to just first off, the Oscars.
That's coming up Sunday.
Yeah,
right?
we have a watch party going on in the evening. And I was thinking of the Oscars.
Who's hosting this year? The Oscars?
Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel.
And I said, they go, we don't want people talking about the slap. Let's get our company guy. At least we know that guy won't say anything about it.
I don't know if you can count on him to not say anything. I think it'd be the first thing out of his mouth.
He's a company guy, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's why they got him.
He is a company guy, but I think that it'll be interesting.
That's the sort of the exciting
He's still
thing.
a comic. He's still a comedian who...
Well, I think maybe he would make a comment about somebody else's comment who made him.
Right.
But I don't know.
That's possible.
What I thought, the slap. Shouldn't that be the term for somebody?
The slap.
You've got 14 nominations and you didn't win a single one. Ooh, you got slapped.
So that'll be. I forgot that was last year. It seems like it was so long ago.
Yeah, it does. But it was last year, and so I'm looking forward to seeing that while we watch the Oscars on Sunday.
So you'll watch from the theater?
It'll be right in the cinema.
Oh,
it'll be on the big screen, just like we did.
Serving popcorn and all of that
Serving
stuff.
popcorn.
That's cool.
And all that sort of stuff. We did the same thing for the nominations watch party. And we had, it was a good time. And this we've been.
And
doing
that's
this
in the
for a number
morning.
of
You
years.
actually have people come out in the morning.
That was at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and this is a little different, 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Yep.
But we have an interesting series. Maybe Jeff grew up watching the cartoons in the 90s. Late 90s.
Guy,
SpongeBob, SquarePants, the Rugrats, which I never really.
What are you doing with that? Are you doing a whole?
We're doing a movie series called Why Not 2K. It's all movies that came out or cartoons for kids stuff. And this Friday night we're playing the Rugrats, the movie, and everybody thinks,
I took my kids to that. They were all into it.
Yeah. I was a Ren and Stimpy guy. I never really liked the Rugrats, and but that's going to be on Friday night.
Well, you're a little old to like the Rugrats, right?
Yeah, I know. I just, I mean, the Rugrats.
SpongeBob, though, was a big thing for college kids.
Oh.
And they'd sit around and smoke pot and watch SpongeBob.
I wasn't smoking pot, and I wasn't a college kid, but I did watch SpongeBob.
Yeah.
And I watched it mainly because parents would complain about my kids watching SpongeBob.
Hey, do you remember the craziness over The Simpsons when Bart Simpson was rude?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Bart Simpson being rude. We look at that today, it's the least of our problems, kids being rude.
Yeah.
We just assume kids are rude.
Yeah, I know.
And don't know how to communicate. We just want to try to keep the handguns out of them.
Yeah. If the kid's not being rude, you ask, what's your problem?
Yeah.
Why aren't you yelling?
Yeah,
and
why are you
screaming?
so different? Craziness.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going on this month. What else?
Well, we have a thing. It's a trivia challenge, Fibonacci Project trivia challenge. And essentially, it's not really anything that we're looking to get people there to watch. We are getting contestants to play a TV game show trivia style with buzzers and everything. We've done it before, and so we're doing it again and just recruiting some people. We're working on all of the contestants, and there'll be 3, and one of them was really an outstanding young man. His name is Aiden Goldman.
Okay.
And I met him at a health fair and I was filming the stuff at the health fair, and I started talking to somebody at the Rome Refugee Services. And I was talking to them, and the woman says, I'm not sure. And I looked over, and there was this high school sophomore, I think, and he'll be able to help you. And I go, oh, yeah, were you working on it? Oh, I'm the person who invented I started this. I'm the founder.
Oh, really?
I go, you found? He goes, yeah. I'm just doing this. Blah,
That's
blah,
really
blah.
cool.
Yeah, and I said, well, I got to get you. You got to be a contestant. And, you get a chance to talk about what you do, and that's quite an outstanding thing for somebody in high school to have undertaken. And so he's one of the contestants, and we're still fishing for a couple more.
All on the website?
It's all on the website.
Okay.
At romecapital.com. And as I said, there's 3 contestants, and we've been sorting through the entries so far. To get all
Rick E. Lewis, thank you so much.
Yeah, so thanks for having me on.
And thank you for being there as being the lone black person in the room.
Yes, the representative for the nation.
While we're talking about the Mayhem thing. I want to completely switch gears, and we're going way out to California early in the morning. John Decker from Gray TV is the chief White House correspondent. John, what are you doing in California? Good morning.
Well, I'm at a tennis tournament in California, Southern California, Bill. It's the BNP Paribas Open. It's one of the best tournaments in the world, let alone the U.S. I have a board meeting out here. I'm on the board of the International Tennis Hall of Fame. I bet you didn't know that, Bill.
I had no idea.
And we have a board meeting out here and also a great tournament as well coinciding with that. So that's what brings me out here. My wife's joined me, and it's great weather out here. It is early, as you know, but I'm still on East Coast time, so no big deal on that front.
So what do you think? Should we as a country still be blocking major athletes from coming into the country because they are unvaccinated?
Well, apparently we can. You're talking about the #1 men's tennis player in the world, Novak Djokovic. He's from Serbia. He's obviously not a U.S. citizen. He's unvaccinated. And the rules that are in place right now, if you are not a U.S. citizen and you are unvaccinated, you cannot come into the U.S. And that means that Novak Djokovic is not at this tournament. He won't be at the Miami Open, which happens in 2 weeks. And if this rule still remains in place as the year progresses, he will not be at the U.S. Open in New York City at the end of the summer.
Wow.
So it's not good news for Novak Djokovic, and there are many who are advocating for him, including Florida's governor, Florida's 2 senators, the head of the ATP, the Association for Tennis Professionals, and no dice. Joe Biden has said no exemption for the #1 tennis player in the world for the men.
Well, I can see that because if you make an exception for him, then you have to make exceptions for other people. But, John, I want to correct something you said. You said he's not vaccinated and he's not an American citizen, so he cannot enter the United States. All we have to do is send him to the southern border, and they will bus trip him to the tennis tournament. What are you talking about?
We'll bring him right in.
Well, there you go. That's one way to do it. I think you might have something there. I don't know if they thought of that idea, although the governor of Florida had thought about having Novak fly into the Bahamas and then take a boat to the U.S., but I think it's any port of entry, whether you're talking about flying in or driving in or taking a boat in. That's the rule. You know, the rule doesn't apply to American citizens, by the way. So if you are unvaccinated, you can come and go from the U.S. as you please. It only applies to foreigners. It only applies to people who aren't citizens of the U.S., and that's Novak Djokovic, and he's not here. Lots of great Americans playing in this tournament. Last year, an American won on the men's side, Taylor Fritz, so good opportunities for American players. But, I think they want to play the best. The best right now is Novak Djokovic.
John, what brings you to? Were you a big college player? Did you play tennis? I mean, how did you get onto this onto the board here?
Well, I've always loved tennis. I've played tennis. I've covered all 4 tennis Grand Slams. So in addition to my love of politics and covering the White House, I've always loved tennis as well. And I've been involved in the tennis world for many years. And a few years ago, I was asked to join the board of the International Tennis Hall of Fame. If you didn't know, the Tennis Hall of Fame is based in Newport, Rhode Island. A good place to visit to see the history of the sport. And it's a great honor to be a part of that. And so in a few years, we'll welcome in Roger Federer into the Tennis Hall of Fame. I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a big deal when that happens.
I want to ask you about well, let's switch to politics. Let's talk about the Dominion lawsuit and Tucker Carlson. What's your take on both of these?
Well, the Dominion lawsuit, the trial for their defamation lawsuit, their $1.6 billion defamation lawsuit against Fox News gets underway next month, April the 17th in Wilmington, Delaware. It's a high bar that Dominion has to pass in order to prove defamation, actual malice. What they're claiming is that Fox News knew that what they were broadcasting on their news was wrong, was factually untrue. That is that the Dominion's voting systems were flawed and caused massive fraud in the 2020 election. And we've seen a lot of emails and text messages come out over the course of the past few weeks as part of legal filings. So right now, just based upon some of that, it's not good news for Fox. And then you mentioned Tucker Carlson, the video that he's been showing this week. You see the pushback coming from even Republican senators saying that what's been broadcast, quoting Tom Tillis, Republican senator from North Carolina, he called it BS in terms of what Tucker Carlson has been showing on his program this past week.
I mean, he took a little moment out of this without putting it all in perspective. I don't think there's anybody that can look at what happened on January 6th and be okay with it, right? While there are some that are kind of dismissing it, you just can't be okay with that.
Can I just say as well, the Fox story with the Dominion is disgraceful. That's disgraceful. Are you a propaganda network, or are you Fox News, or are you Fox Propaganda? Come on.
John Decker, we appreciate it. Enjoy the time with tennis, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thank you.
Yeah, time away. Thanks a lot, Bill. Always great to be on your show. Talk to you next week for sure.
Thanks so
Appreciate
much.
it.
John Decker, the chief White House correspondent from Gray TV. I want to tell you one of our sponsors, Daylight Donuts. So think about it. Daylight Donuts this weekend is what? Daylight saving time. Daylight saving time donuts. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of this week. Buy a coffee, get a free glazed donut. It's daylight saving. Daylight saving. Daylight Donuts in New Hartford. WIBX, Utica, Rome.
A big one. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. A proposed budget for the 2024 fiscal year. He'll unveil it today in Philadelphia. It'll include reducing the deficit, bolstering the Medicare trust fund, subsidies for child care, and an expanded child tax credit with tax increases to fund it all.
The proposal includes putting a 25% minimum tax on billionaires, raising the national gains tax, increasing the top tax rate for Americans earning $400,000 or more, increasing the corporate tax rate by 7%.
Fox Business Network Cheryl Casoni. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says Republicans will not approve those tax hikes while claiming the spending will increase inflation.
Will not only harm and increase more inflation, it'll put us in a weaker position in the future with China, and it'll harm our children and grandchildren.
We just got an update on unemployment showing an increase last week. 211,000 first-time filings after 7 straight weeks of jobless claims under 200,000. We're still awaiting the return of the bodies of 2 Americans murdered in Mexico. 2 others since freed are back in Texas as a manhunt continues.
For a cartel boss known as La Quena, who is accused of abducting 4 Americans, Jose La Quena Garcia is wanted for the shooting deaths of the 2 Americans. Mexico announced a $2.5 million bounty on Garcia, who is the leader of a Gulf cartel faction.
That's Fox's Marianne Rafferty. Republicans in Congress want the U.S. to target drug cartels, perhaps inside Mexico. Mexico's president just said they will not allow any foreign government to intervene. Russia bombarded Ukraine with dozens more missiles and drones overnight, damaging infrastructure, killing at least 6 people as Russia closes in on taking control of the city of Bakhmut.
Ukraine's president vowed not to retreat or surrender, while U.S. intelligence claims the city has no real strategic value and its fall will have no real impact on the war. Bakhmut